These weren't supposed to be skin tight. So this video took me a bit. Enter the Gungeon has been a game I've been playing for at least 5 years at this point. So when I was 11, it hasn't been a game I've been playing every day of my life, obviously, but it's always been a game I've come back to. Now, do I think Enter the Gungeon was one of the best games ever made? No, but it might be. Ever since I was envisioning becoming a YouTuber years ago, this was one of the videos I always wanted to make. So here it is. Enter the Gungeon, a Gungementary. Yes, it's pronounced like that. So I usually like to start my videos by jumping into it without any history about how it was made or the developers, but this is a special occasion, so let's delve into that first. Before I begin, there's a great video by that guy Glenn summing all of this up and going into a lot more detail than I'll be going into, so if you want more information on the development history, go watch that. So back in 2006, a company known as Mythic that nobody has ever heard of before was purchased by the ever-looming darkness known as Electronic Arts. And in 2013, 3 people from Mythic started a little crew together. Those people were Brent Sodman, David Rubel, and Dave Crooks, along with 2 unrelated people joining in tow, being Joe Hardy and Erica Hampson. Why does this sound like Jumpin' Johnny Jumble Jamson did something to the Tally Hall names? Being an artist and sound designer respectively, which later in 2014 they said to their bosses that they would probably be leaving sometime in the summer, which was escalated by them releasing a shit-ass game and EA promptly closing their studio for making one mistake. So the 5 of them, who were already prepared to come together and make their own thing, took that as an opportunity to begin, and Dave eventually came up with the idea of Enter the Gungeon, being a combination of the words, actually I don't know. And from there they started coming up with loads of ideas for what it would be like, including the main premise of the game, the gun that kills the past, but they had to work quick though because Mythic was shut down less than 2 weeks before E3 and they wanted to have something to show. But luckily for them, Devolver, a game publisher and the wife of my 2 kids, was also there, holding a little parody event. So Dave, with nothing more than a backpack and a laptop full of screenshots, waited 6 hours in a parking lot just so he could pull Nigel Laurent. Yeah. You know what, this word on screen right now, I'm gonna mispronounce it. I'm so sorry, Nigel. The head of marketing at Devolver sighed and showed him the cool thing he made, which Nigel responded with staring at him blankly and leaving immediately. But luckily for them, Nigel contacted them a week later and said, "F it, let's do this." And from there, the rest was history. Basically turning their living room into a studio, they could cook this thing up. With one of the things they first came up with was the dodge roll mechanic, which is unsurprisingly inspired by Dark Souls. And they liked it so much they said, "F it, let's name our team after that," creating Dodge Roll. Some other inspirations they also had were Super Meat Boy, The Binding of Isaac, and unsurprisingly, Dungeons & Dragons. 2 of the bosses in the game are even straight callbacks to the Mind Flayer and the Beholder from Dungeons & Dragons, being the Mind Flayer, spelled slightly differently, and the Beholster. So with the team hard at work and Devolver publishing it, everything was set for them to release the game in January 2015. Yeah, that didn't happen. They needed far more time for this thing to actually work, and sadly, far more money. All of the money that they saved up to put into this game had now run out. But luckily, Devolver, being the chads they are, stepped up to the plate and gave them money that they needed to finish it, with an April 5th, 2016 release date. There was a lot riding on this too. To even break even, they would need to have sold 34,000 copies, and with all riding on this, they reached that in 8 hours. And in a week, this game sold 200,000 copies. It was an undoubtable success, and by June of 2020, it had sold over 3 million copies. Yeah, so it did pretty well, putting it lightly. With your Gungeon-y history lesson finished, let's actually turn on the game now. You're told a legend about an ancient place of worship that holds a legendary weapon, the gun that can kill the past. And of course, anybody who's anybody wants their hands on that. I mean, come on, hasn't there been something you wish you could go back and change? An irreversible mistake you've made? Perhaps a loved one you've lost and want to see again? Or an opportunity you missed? Risking death for a lot of people is quite a small price to pay. Anyway, here you're given a title screen with pretty much only one option on it, and that is to... Wait, crap. Here's the character selection screen, which for right now you only have the option of 4 characters. The Marine, the Pilot, the Convict, and the Hunter. Each of them having a myriad of different abilities, with all of them having different weapons, unique abilities, unique passives, and a unique special thing. Starting with the Marine, who has by far the best starting weapon out of the base 4, the Marine's sidearm. Not being an amazing weapon in the grand scheme of the Gungeon, but out of the ones we have right now, it's definitely a start. It has good accuracy and decent damage, and this goes for all of the starting weapons, but infinite ammo as well, but it's still a starting weapon, so I'll throw it in C tier. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna be ranking all the weapons in the game because I think that'd be fun. Okay, one down, only 237 to go. The Marine also has a unique item to his name, and that being the supply drop. Also at the same time, let me quickly explain items. There are things you find, and they do things. Okay, cool. Explanation over. So the Marine's special item will call down a supply drop with ammunition in it, which will instantly bring a gun's ammo back to full. And I assume I don't have to explain an ammunition mechanic for a gun. It's pretty whatever, like a D tier. Also, throughout this entire video, I was also ranking items as well. But then I learned that ranking 200 and, like, what was it, 37 of anything is actual hell, so we're not gonna rank the items, because this isn't Enter the Item Gen. His passive item is the military training book. All that does is just make the reload speed faster and gun accuracy better. I mean, I can't really complain, it's just a strict upgrade, so C tier. And his fourth unique thing is that he always spawns with one piece of armor at the beginning of a run. I'll explain the other 3 characters in a minute, though. Did you know I'm 11 pages into this script and we haven't even turned on the game yet? But right now, let's start by playing. So as soon as you choose a character, you have a choice to make. Do you head up this path leading to the tutorial area, or do you head to the right immediately heading into the Gungeon? I mean, for all express purposes, you could just say F the tutorial and skip it, like that one YouTuber who milks Minecraft videos, but it'll be best if we head there for now. This is Chamber 0. You get other chambers in a gun? Shut up. You know, I just had this thought. Do you think this video could get age restricted because I keep talking about guns? Even though this is a cartoony pixel art game? This friendly fellow here is Sir Manuel, or just Manny, and he, unsurprisingly, will be your tutorial for the ins and outs of the Gungeon. So allow me to completely forego his job and talk about everything. Up here in the top left is your lives. Look, they're shaped like bullets, that's adorable. Every time you take a hit, you'll lose half a heart, so overall at the start of a run, you'll have 6 hit points. Oh wow, thanks, Captain Obvious. And to the right of your health is where your armor would go if you have it. Armor is basically just one extra hit you can take, but with the special functionality of functioning like a blank. Now, what is a blank? Slightly underneath your casings, which is basically just money, and underneath that, your blanks. These nifty little tools will not only push enemies slightly away from where it was activated, but also clear an entire room of bullets. These are great for when you're in a jam. Okay, actually, you know what? Start a bullet pun counter in the bottom left, because I unintentionally just made one. But anyway, these are great for those tricky situations you get in when you're overrun with projectiles in an inescapable spot. But if you're overrun with bullets, that's then your only option for escape. Obviously, you can just maneuver around them, but pressing the B button will activate a dodge roll. Shameless developers naming a move after themselves. This works almost entirely like the roll in Dark Souls, making you completely invincible while in the air, but as soon as you touch the ground, you're vulnerable again. Which it also has the role of a pseudo jump, letting you jump into gaps and much later into other minecarts, along with like probably a lot of things I'm forgetting. And your final, most situational move is the ability to flip tables. Oh boy, I can't wait to flip tables, 10 out of 10. If you're next to a table and you need some quick cover, that's about it. And from there, you're pretty much taught everything the game will tell you. The rest is up for you to figure out. And Sir Manuel gives you what is technically the first gun you'll have in the game, the pea shooter. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, it's literally the tutorial. I don't know what you're expecting. But I still have to rank it, so F tier. I don't know where else I would put it. Then you're given some purposely easy rooms to run through, and then he gives you the ultimate test of fighting him in battle, which is about as hard as this banana.
See, it's pretty soft.
He goes down especially fast if you found the AK-7 in a chest from the other room, or the synergy from the pea shooter in the hidden room. Now, first of all, I'm putting the AK-47 in A+ tier, or whatever we're choosing to call that tier between S and A. It definitely isn't the best gun in the game, but it's extremely solid. There are plenty of guns that I would choose the AK over. It's nothing too insane. There's no crazy gimmicks, it's just a solid gun with good damage and good ammo. The gold standard of the Gungeon. Anyway, so now the second part of that sentence. What is a synergy? So when you're exploring through the Gungeon, you are bound to find various weapons and items that at your disposal, but sometimes 2 weapons can combine their power, so to speak, to create something new. For example, combining the pea shooter with the set of the old knight's armor you find behind the cracked wall creates the synergy tutorialized, which turns the pea shooter into a grenade launcher, or the old knight's helm with the old knight's shield makes the shield fly around you, which is awesome. It pretty much bumps the number of guns from 200 up to like 500 or something. Oh yeah, and while we're here, the old knight's shield and old knight's helm both go into C tier. They just give you 2 pieces of armor. It's pretty alright. It's literally just 2 pieces of armor and that's it. Now that Sir Manuel has been defeated, we can finally wrap up the tutorial, but he does have some closing thoughts if you care to listen. See, if you fight him while you have the old knight's shield and old knight's helm, he'll actually have some different dialogue.
Cease fire! Cease fire! Wait! That shield! You found my shield! Which means you know my terrible secret. It's true! I never conquered the Gungeon! I'm no longer sure this even is the Gungeon! How humiliating! It's all that bastard's fault! That snake blocker! We were supposed to be partners, but shortly after we arrived, I was shot in the back. When I awoke, I was trapped in some kind of chest. I called out for help, but no one came. I'm sure it was him who shot me. I think he wanted the gun for himself. But he must not have made it, because if Blockner had changed the past, he would have never come to the Gungeon, and neither would I. But I'm still here, so he must have left. Or maybe he's stuck in the Gungeon too. It would serve the bastard right. If you find him, tell him Manny says hi, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I've nothing left to teach you. Good luck with the Gungeon and your past.
Okie dokie. We're 20 pages into this script. We haven't even entered the Gungeon yet. Now that we're finally done with the tutorial, this is the other path you could have taken. You would have been stopped by these two guards, but after smooth talking them a bit, they would have moved. This is really cool, specifically for repeat playthroughs. Or if you're like me, playing this game on Steam. After you already owned it on Xbox, after you already owned it on Nintendo Switch. There's nothing too much to do around here besides either hopping into the Gungeon itself or changing the character. You know what, we might as well switch the characters. I've been playing as the Marine for too long. All of like, what, 10 minutes now? But if you are new to the Gungeon, I would heavily suggest choosing the Marine to start with. His gun is the most accurate, he has a piece of armor to start with, he has quicker reload times and accuracy, and he can summon ammo with his supply drop. The character I would not suggest to start with over anybody else is the Pilot. The Pilot has by far the worst starting weapon out of all of them. The Rogue Special has accuracy about as good as my videos from a year ago, and fire rate and ammo is about as consistent as the style of this video. Now the ammo is obviously infinite, but the magazine is terribly short. F tier. Obviously. But his other abilities is where he really shines. His special item is the lockpick. This thing has a 50% chance to unlock a chest without the need of a key. But if it fails, you won't be able to unlock that chest ever again. So it's basically a coin flip if you get a free chest or lose it forever. Now, that does sound pretty bad, but I'll be putting it in B tier and I'll explain later. So far, he seems pretty bad, but his unique passive ability and random fourth thing is where he really shines, by far making him one of the strongest Gungeoneers. His disarming personality, which is somehow a thing you can carry with you. That would be like if depression was an item you could carry. And his hidden compartment. The disarming personality is pretty simple to explain. Any item from shops is now 15% cheaper, which isn't a massive amount cheaper, but is a lot more useful than you would think. When you're strapped for cash and just really need a bit of extra health from a shop, it comes massively in handy. But only B tier. But it's still nice to have in a pinch. And his extra compartment. S tier, baby. This dumb little item lets you carry 2 whole items on you at once. Don't think the trusty lockpick is that good for combat, but still want to keep it? Well, boom, you can carry something else on you. Or hell, if an item has a long period of time before you can use it again, just switch to a different item and you can use that more frequently. Or even rapidly switching between 2 items that work well with each other. The possibilities for this overpowered piece of garbage are limitless. Also, you can carry 10% extra ammo on any gun. Not nearly as cool, but still nice. With all of these things set in place, the Marine is a lot better for the early game or just new players, with the Pilot being great for late game or veteran players. Okay, now let's hop into the Gungeon. Chamber 1, Keep of the Leadlord. Immediately upon dropping in, you'll come face to face with the statue of a shrine of an old gunslinger. Kill your past. You've already doomed your future. The rest is worn away. Don't care! This floor basically serves to introduce you to everything the Gungeon has to throw at you. Now, I'm not going to talk about every enemy because, dear lord, that would take all day and probably some of tomorrow too, but I'll talk about enemies that I think are cool. For example, the Bulletkin, and all of his various siblings. If you've ever seen anything of Enter the Gungeon before, you've undoubtedly seen this little goober, the Halo grunt of the game, essentially the Goomba of the Gungeon. They're not difficult in the slightest, but they're kinda cute. But they also come in various different flavors, such as fruity, wild, dusty, poisoned, cultist, and various other flavors for you to try. Now, I'd like to preface that I'm playing the most recent version of Gungeon, so I'm not going to go like, oh, this was out at the launch of the game, and like, oh, they added this in this update. I'm just going to talk about the game as the complete package as it currently is. Why did I bring this up after talking about Bulletkin? Well, I forgot up until now. Chamber 1 basically just functions as a tutorial for people who skip the tutorial. But at the same time, I don't mind running through this area every time I start a new run. It's easy, no doubt, but that's kind of the point. At this point in the game, you're only going to have at max 2 guns to start with, so giving the player really difficult enemies to go against to make the game more challenging, but not fair. But stop right there. I said a minimum of how many guns? At this point in the game, you're only going to have at max 2 guns to start with. 2 guns to start with? Neither of our characters can do that. Oh yeah, right. Our third playable character from the start is the Convict. Her starting weapon is the budget revolver. Yeah, it kinda sucks and it's worse off because it only has 5 short range shots. But out of the available 4, it does the most damage, which is nice at least. D tier, but she makes up for it with her unique perk, that being that she spawns with 2 guns opposed to 1, this being the sawed-off. It has the unique gimmick of being terrible. Bad range, okay damage, useless right after you get any other gun, F tier. Her special passive item is the enraging photo. If you take damage, you'll temporarily sustain a damage buff, plus it'll instantly reload your active weapon. It's kind of okay, I guess. Getting hit to activate anything isn't always an item I want on me. I mean, no matter what, it's usually a nice perk, but in a game where I'm trying my best to avoid getting hit, having something that actively encourages it kind of is just weird. But you're not gonna catch me complaining about a temporary double damage boost, so B tier. And her item that she gets all to herself is the Molotov. You throw it and anything that steps foot on it will catch fire. Unfortunately, that also includes you. And unsurprisingly, this will not affect flying enemies, like birds and stuff. It's got a surprisingly large recharge time for such a whatever item. I didn't explain it before, so I'll quickly go over it now. Some items are singular use, such as the supply drop from the Marine, but most of them come back after a certain amount of time or a certain amount of damage dealt. So either kill a bunch of enemies or deal damage to a boss. They're both the same, really. With that being said, it takes like 2 years to recharge the Molotov, and honestly, literally no clue why, D tier. It would have already been low, but that recharge time brings it lower. So the Marine is good for new players, the Pilot is good for veteran players, and the Convict is good at filling out a character slot. What is the Convict good for? Pretty much nothing. That's your answer, and pretty much everyone is in consensus with saying that she is the worst character. I think we got a little bit off topic from the first chamber. But yeah, chamber 1 is the first chamber of the game. What more can I possibly say? I will compliment this though. I do really like the environments of this area. The nice gardens, the beautiful tapestries, and there's even this one really cool room that always spawns with a fireplace in it for no reason whatsoever. Remember that for later. Which also brings up something I'm bound to bring up eventually, so let's get it out of the way. Every time you boot up the game, each chamber is randomly generated what rooms will be in there, what shops there will be, what items you will get, what bosses you will fight, all of it is random. So typical roguelite stuff. But at the same time, kinda isn't. Let me explain what I mean by that. The orientation and what rooms there will always be random, but the room layouts themselves have all been handcrafted and thrown into a hat and shaken around until the game pulls from like 15 different ones to create a chamber. On the upside, that means there's never going to be random jank that will occur, and every room is guaranteed to be of quality and playable. But on the other side of the coin, if you've played the game as much as I have, you're bound to see some rooms repeat. It almost sounds like I'm about to complain about that, but actually I really like this. Not only does that still give off the feeling that every area has been handcrafted and not just jumbled by some AI, but if you go into the same room you've already been into before, you can predict where some enemies will spawn or immediately head to a place of cover to shoot from. A lot of other games have attempted the same thing, but most times not nearly as well. Games like Chasm come to mind here. When I played Chasm, I sometimes got the same rooms back to back, and especially since the same room was full of enemies that required me to attack upwards, and the only weapon they gave me was something that could only attack forward. It was frustrating. But in Gungeon, if you go through a room that is just a long hallway with some explosive barrels in it, you're not going to see that room again for the rest of the run, which is really nice for the flow of gameplay. If I went into a chamber and got the same room like 3 times, it would feel very repetitive and boring, but with this and how they designed it, it feels really good and nice, and I like it. But yeah, as I said 5 minutes ago now, the first chamber is pretty easy, all things considered. The hardest thing you'll even find here is the gun nut. Undoubtedly a reference to Zelda's Dark Nuts. They aren't that difficult if you know your timings, but they could definitely give newer players a run for their money. But this first chamber with a really tanky enemy you'll find once in a while also lends to one of my favorite things of the combat. Exclusively on the first chamber, you'll find these chandeliers that you can drop onto enemies, which deal a lot of damage. But you first have to find the switch. You don't even have to flip it down at that, you can just shoot it from a distance and it'll make it fall. You'll only find these things on the first floor, and it complements something I really like about the combat. There's never just one way to deal with an enemy. I mean, sometimes, yes, like with the lead maidens on the second floor, there's pretty much only one way you can deal with them. But with most enemies, you'll have a lot of options. You could push them into holes, you could drop a chandelier on them, you could knock over a campfire and catch them ablaze, you could shoot an explosive crate that's near them. If you look at the combat as linearly as shooting an enemy until it dies, then repeating the process for the next one, the game would still probably be fun, but it wouldn't feel as free. Look, TLDR, the combat requires a lot of on-the-fly thinking, and I love it. And hey, you know what? Maybe at some point during this review I'll talk about the bosses, we'll see. So every floor in the Gungeon is populated by a final boss of the floor. Typical roguelite stuff, I know. And for the first floor, it can be one of 3. The Trigger Twins, the Bullet King, and the Gatling Gull. But I wouldn't recommend jumping into the boss just yet, we're probably gonna need some better firepower. So on every floor, there are at least 2 chests you can find randomly scattered about. There are tons of different chests, but I'll just talk about the basic ones for now. Brown chests, which will give you weapons of the D tier rarity, blue chests will give you weapons of the C tier rarity, and so on and so forth with the other chests pictured. But the Magna Carta of the main 5 being the black chest. which will give you a random weapon in the S tier rarity. By the way, this is a great time to point out I probably won't be bringing up weapon rarities when it comes to the overall rankings. What I mean by this is, let's take a weapon like the t-shirt cannon. The t-shirt cannon is a D tier rarity item, and is absolute trash, and there's a weapon called the trash cannon. I would literally rather have the starting weapon than this, but it is in the most common tier of items and weapons, so should I rank it higher because it's more common for somebody to get? I'm not going to be doing that, not only because that would make ranking all of these take 12 times longer, but I'm going off a system like this. If you open a chest and you had to select one weapon you would want it to be, what would you choose? Best for bosses, clearing regular rooms, anything's on the table. Then I take away that gun from your options and what gets chosen then, etc, etc, you get the picture. Think we got a little sidetracked from chests, didn't we? But yes, black chests are the best, brown chests are the worst. Well, kind of. Brown chests don't just give you a random D tier weapon, but they often will give you a random pickup as well, such as ammo, hearts, keys, blanks, and shields, which of blue chests and every other chest do not. So sometimes, even though you'll be getting a worse item, it might actually be better to choose a brown chest over a blue chest. But how do you open these chests? Well, keys of course. Like I talked about briefly with the pilot and his trusty lockpick, keys allow you to open chests and much more. I wish there was an award for bringing up something and talking about it 12 pages earlier, because I would dominate that category. Okay, so now that we have our probably useless gun from that brown chest back there, let's try a boss. Let's start out with the Bullet King. The Bullet King pretty much just serves as Baby's first boss fight. He serves to introduce the wide variety of different things that bosses can do. He can shoot a volley of big bullets at you, do a slam where it shoots out a ring, throw his chalice at you, which I assume had gasoline in it. He can even spin around like, hello there, I'm retroactively removing a gag that was supposed to be here where I'm in a ballerina outfit spinning around because it was an obscure shot. He's the first big gauntlet through your trek of the Gungeon, assuming you actually fight him, that is. Yeah, you actually fight one of 3 bosses at random. Wait, did I already talk about that? Just give me a sec, I'll find it. The other 2 bosses you can run into at random here are the Gatling Gull or the Trigger Twins. The Trigger Twins are a dual boss. They would be pretty easy on their own, but together they're a bitch to deal with. They're not exactly copies of each other, obviously. Smiley has some alternate attacks opposed to Shades, and I assume I don't have to break down which is which. They are really a testament on how having 2 of the same easy boss can actually make it a challenge, though. That's not to say when you kill one, the other just crumbles. No, whichever one you don't kill will get enraged, both getting more overwhelming attacks and getting some HP back. But whichever one you kill last is still pretty easy by themselves. And the final one is the Gatling Gull. Yeah, this one kind of sucks, actually. I feel like he's way too hard for a Chamber 1 boss. Maybe a Chamber 2 boss would be more fitting for him, but then I think he'd be too easy. He's too hard for Chamber 1 and too easy for Chamber 2. I'm indecisive about him. If you're just starting out with this guy, he'll wipe the floor with you. It's like that one guy on a horse in Elden Ring in the first area, except for you can't avoid him. I just don't think he's very well designed, plus he doesn't really have any unique gimmicks to show off. He kind of just shoots a lot of bullets. But all of the Chamber 1 bosses serve to teach the player something. The Bullet King can teach them that some enemies can float, so the Convict's Molotov won't be effective against him. Yeah, you can see why people don't really like this character. The Trigger Twins show that some bosses can summon minions. For example, Smiley and Shades can sometimes summon Bulletkin that can help them. And the Gatling Gull teaches the player that the game tells you to go f*** yourself sometimes. On the skill versus RNG meter for roguelike, I would probably put this around as skill is more essential than RNG, but man does this game beat you down to the dirt sometimes. Also, if you don't know what that meter is, essentially, does a roguelike require more skill or more RNG? For example, Dead Cells requires a lot of skill in order to do well in the slightest, but another game like Robot Named Fight requires really good RNG to make it through. I hope that was even somehow comprehensible. But yes, Enter the Gungeon, I would probably place it around requiring more skill, definitely. But sometimes you're just given a bad hand, you can't really do anything about it. Now, there are systems to counteract this, but I'll get to that in another chamber. Speaking of another chamber, that's pretty much everything on floor 1. There's nothing much more we can do down here, so let's head to chamber 2, Gungeon proper. You could have probably guessed by the name, but this is where the Gungeon really starts to spice up. Harder enemies, more rooms, and more stuff to delve into. For example, let's talk about the chamber-based difficulty. If I shoot a bullet... Wait, the gun bullets are named f***ing bullets? If I shoot a bullet in the first chamber with 1 round from the Marine sidearm, it will die in 1 hit. But if I do the same thing in the 4th chamber, for example, it won't. This is so the game can reuse certain enemies, but also not make them complete pushovers at the same time. Now, the game doesn't exclusively reuse the same enemies for every chamber. What it'll do, it'll take all the I'm stuck in a f***ing loop right now. What it'll do, oh my god, help. What it'll do is take all of the enemies you fought from the first floor adding some variations on those same enemies like veteran shotgunkin, and then throw a bunch of new ones in too. And Viola, the Gungeon Jamba Juice. I think this works really well actually. Hell, most times you don't even see some of the enemies they're bringing back from previous floors because of how room randomization works. Sometimes going through floor 2, I won't even see a single gun nut, but other times I will. This overall just works in the game's favor a lot, because if they didn't reuse enemies from previous floors, that means you'll have a total of like 10 overall enemies, probably less, in the second floor, which would be way more repetitive than just bringing others back. It just is a really good balancing act of having old enemies, new variants of old enemies, and new enemies. Speaking of new enemies, here we have some new remarkable goons to talk about. Yeah, I wrote this script before that word became ruined. Speaking of new enemies, we have some new remarkable fiends to talk about here, like the Lead Maiden. The Lead Maiden can kiss my ass. You can only attack it when it's open, it shoots spikes everywhere, and then when it's done shooting, it closes itself again, so you can't attack it, while on top of that, the spikes come out of the walls and home in on you. Yeah, f this thing. Another one of the remarkable ones is by far my favorite enemy in the game. Diasuk, however you pronounce it, is a 20-sided dial randomly shuffled between 20 attacks that different members of the Legion of the Gundead can perform. My favorite thing though, if it rolls a 20, it'll do this big f you attack and get fire and poison everywhere along with bullets. But if it rolls a 1, it just straight up dies instantly. That's hilarious. But what of those effects I mentioned? Different enemies and environmental hazards within the Gungeon can deal different status effects. Poison, if standing in it, will start filling up a meter, and if it reaches completion, will take 1 hit point away from you. Burn, which even if you stood in for a quarter of a second, will start a countdown until you take damage, with the only way to make it go away being dodge rolling. Because, like, tuck and roll. You know, I remember when I was younger and playing this game, I could never figure out how to extinguish fire, so I used to just take, like, 5 hits and lose entire runs if I got caught on fire. It was awesome. Call me stupid, I was 11. What do you want from me? And mentioned nowhere on the wiki, electricity. This can exclusively damage enemies and nobody else, and only when they're standing in a puddle of water that's been electrified or other goop. Yeah, okay, it's pretty bad in all honesty. I think. See, there's an item called the hazmat suit, D tier, that shields you from fire, poison, and electricity, but I've been playing this game for literal years, and I have never been damaged by electricity even once without it. And the worst part is I couldn't even find anything on the wiki saying if electricity does or not. Both in the status effects section and weapons with electricity effects section, I don't have a great way of testing this either, because a total of 4 weapons in the entire game have electricity effects. So I guess the fact it hasn't come up even a single time for me is enough to say it's pretty irrelevant. Now, there are things you can do to circumvent these effects. For example, stuff like the fire ring, F tier, gas mask, F tier, the previously mentioned hazmat suit are all great options if you're struggling with poison and fire. But realistically, aside from childhood trauma, the damaging status effects never really came up that much of a threat. I mean, there was this one time I was in the final floor and I had an item known as the blooded scarf, A tier, which lets you teleport around instead of rolling, which is pretty cool until you realize it's very shit at extinguishing fire and it took like 3 damage. That's childhood nostalgia right there. Anyway, I think I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. The second chamber, with all the neat rooms it has, like this cool looking open one, there's a shop again, and this room with no rhyme or reason that has a coffin in the middle. Fun! Okay, I can't just bring this up and not explain it. What is the shop? This is a place where you can exchange those casings you found in exchange for guns, keys, blanks, ammo, items, and casings. Pretty much anything. But don't rely on the shopkeep too much. His inventory is randomized on every run, and every floor, except for on the second floor where he'll consistently have this. What is that? Cheese wheel? Why is that 110 casings? There's a shop on every floor, but Mr. Mustache here is only on 4 of them. You'll see what I mean in a second. Or lots of seconds. Something to keep in mind is that the prices of everything increases on every floor. So on one floor, something could be 20 casings, and on the next one, it would be 23. This only really matters for health items and ammo, but I thought I'd bring it up. Okay, well, there's not a ton else going on in Chamber 2, so let's talk about the bosses for the floor. I figure I'll talk about the Beholster first. He's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool boss, but I don't understand what the hell Dodge Roll's problem with him is. Look anywhere in this game's marketing, you'll see him, like, literally everywhere. Like, he's a cool boss. I think the idea of him holding and using some of the guns you find throughout the game is really cool, but why is he pushed this much? He's just some random ass Chamber 2 boss. Why is he everywhere? The other 2 bosses you can run into are the Anaconda and the Gorgon. The Gorgon is a pretty cool boss. She's one of the only 2 bosses that can apply this weird gray effect I don't feel like looking up the name for. It'll make it to where temporarily you can't use your guns until it's worn off. It's pretty cool, but a little underutilized. It makes our fight stand out a lot though, and the Anaconda can go right off. He is vastly too difficult to be on this floor. Unlike the Gatling Gull, he could have definitely been a Chamber Chamber 3 boss, it worked fine. I just get pissed off when I see him this boss. He never stops firing, he keeps chasing you, and the worst thing is he summons these little segments like an actual game of Snake, and if he eats one, he gains health back. I just don't think they thought this one through very well. I think it's actually a really cool fight, but way too difficult for this point in the game. This will never happen after fighting the Anaconda, but if you manage to defeat a boss without taking a single hit, you'll actually get an extra thingy. Every time you defeat a boss at the end of a chamber, the game gives you a bunch of goodies. Mainly on a pedestal is either a weapon or an item, but around you is a bunch of pickups as well. So if you're ever strapped for keys and end up fighting the boss with the starting weapon, it's nice. In addition to that, if you don't take a single hit during the boss, you get a master round for that chamber, which acts as a permanent health upgrade for that run. It gives you 2 extra hit points. You get extra health for not losing health. That's funny to me. Anyway, Chamber 2 seemed pretty interesting now that I'm thinking about it more, but it gets a lot more in depth later. But for now on to Chamber 3, the Black Powder Mine. So Chamber 3. Oh shit, we forgot to talk about the Hunter. Son of a bitch. We're on the 3rd chamber and I completely forgot. What the fuck is wrong with me? God damn. So the Hunter is our 4th playable character of the Gungeon, and she's pretty cool. She's not my favorite, but she definitely isn't my least. Her starting weapon is fine, I guess. Better than the pilots, worse than the Marines. It's still whatever, F tier. But fine for a starter. But like the Convict, she actually has 2 weapons, bringing by far the best secondary weapon, being the crossbow. This thing would be just okay to find it randomly, but having it immediately as you start a run is incredible. Though I can't put it anything over siege just because outside of the Hunter it's honestly just not great. Still, it's inoffensive. I like it. And for her passive item, she gets a dog smile. After clearing a room, the dog has a small chance to randomly dig up a random pickup item, so ammo, blanks, health, you get the deal. It's random, but still really good if you're on the 1st chamber or something and he digs up an extra key for you. I'll put the dog in D tier, but you also have the option to pet the dog, so that bumps it up to C. And that's it. Yeah, the Hunter is alone and not having 4 things to start with opposed to every other Gungeoneer. That's probably because the items she does have access to are already very solid by themselves, so I don't really mind this. She's a good character, not at the bottom, not at the top, just okay. But yeah, that's the 4 main Gungeoneers, and it only took us 65 pages to talk about all of them. All of them. If I had to rank them, I would probably put the pilot at the top, the Marina Co. 2nd, the Hunter at 3rd, and the Convict just go home. Anyway, where were we? Back to the Black Powder Mines. Ever wonder where all the gunpowder that fuels the gundead comes from? Well, it's all scorched from here. Wait, this isn't the lore chapter, is it? If Chamber 2 didn't warm you up, Chamber 3 separates the boys from the men. I couldn't tell you how many times I died at this chamber when I was younger. I mean, nowadays it's obviously a piece of cake because I've played this game more times than I've sworn in this video, but when I was younger, this chamber kicked my ass. Mainly because some of the new enemies here, like the Misfire Beast, the Sporg, and the Killithid. Yeah, did I mention this game sucks, actually? Hey, sorry my audio is really bad for like the next 12 minutes. I recorded this entire thing in like segments, so like, whoops. It uses pissing gun magic to make bullets teleport from everywhere, which can be a bitch to dodge sometimes, especially when these things are always in a room full of other enemies. But worse than that is it can clone itself and it won't die until you kill the main one. This thing sucks. But honestly, I think the game would be worse if it didn't have the enemies that made you go, I'm going back to watching porn. Sometimes the game just needs to throw enemies at you that make you rip your hair out. Sometimes the enemies can make you frustrated, but then the next run you come back and you do better at fighting them. And eventually it's no big deal at all. Or next run immediately come back with some God Destruction Pistol number 15 and absolutely eviscerate them. That works too. Alright, so let's look at the floor itself. We have 2 new floor gimmicks introduced, being big parts of the level designs. That being levers you can push to detonate explosives in the ceilings, basically just the chandeliers again, and mine carts, which you can ride around in to get from one side of an area to another. There's also an achievement that requires you to kill 100 enemies in one of these things. Yeah, awesome, cool, that's great. Something I like about Chamber 3 is that more often than not, it feels like the room design itself is trying to stop you along with the gundead. With pits you have to leap across, starting you in a room with an unfair advantage to where the enemies are, and deadass just having turrets on some minecarts that you can't destroy. It's really good at ramping up the difficulty instead of feeling like just the enemies are getting harder. And boy are these room layouts something. There's a room where they put a gap that shoots lasers on the other side of the room you have to work towards. There's a room where they put 4 enemies and a bunch of minecarts that circle around the room. And one of them doesn't even have any enemies, it's just an empty pit. That's fun. There's one where we found him. The bastard.
Guards! Wait, it's another Gungeoneer. Hail, friend, and well met. What brings you to this gun dungeon?
You know what, actually he seems quite nice. I think I'll just leave.
Is there something else? I'm not quite certain what you mean. You must be here to kill your past, correct? Ah, I see. You understand I won't just roll over, right? Well then, look out behind you. It seems my past has caught up with me. Time to kill it.
So Blockner here is actually a boss fight. Something funny though is that his gun nuts that I assume are his guards don't do anything until they're shot at. I swear to God, this game is a masterpiece, just give it time. Apparently he's supposed to be a Dark Souls reference because in those games you can either focus on having a shield to block big attacks or not having a shield and being able to roll because of Dark Souls weight mechanic. It can be a little tricky at first, but after the gun nuts go down, he's pretty easy. Well, Karma's caught up to Blockner, finally, and he's now turned into a ghost, just like his little buddy Manuel.
Ah, nuts. Bested by a disciple of Manny. Humiliating.
It'd be off to the breach with the E. But now if we return to the breach, we can go back to the tutorial area and speak to Manuel once again, informing him that we got the bastard. And if you leave and come back after that, they'll both be standing outside the tutorial area and Manuel will give you the Betrayer's Shield. This is very much a gun and not a shield. It does okay damage and everything, but if you reload it, it'll spawn a shield for you to hide behind. If the shield was slightly bigger, I could have probably put this higher, but it's not really as useful as it sounds, C tier. So anyway, back to Chamber 3, and I was exploring, killed a random gundead. I found a strange golden key that wouldn't unlock any chests. While I kept exploring and found somebody locked in a jail cell. Oh no. Doing the right thing and going against law enforcement, I obviously let them out. So occasionally throughout your trips of the Gungeon, you can find cell keys that will let somebody out of their Gungeon jail, which characters inside can do various things. Some of them will just head back to the breach and become NPCs, and others will just stay in the Gungeon and become shops down there. Well, if it isn't the main protagonist of Titanfall 2. This is Cadence and Ox. They'll be your shopkeepers for the game. They have now headed back to the breach and opened up a shop to the left of the Gungeon entrance. So when I was talking about what you get for defeating a boss earlier, I kind of left something out. You also get hegemony credits. Basically, this game's universal currency. Casings will buy you things within a run of the Gungeon, but hegemony credits will buy you things that'll unlock permanently. So we can buy new items that we can find along our journey. And various other NPCs we meet down here will open up shop in the breach and sell things for hegemony credits. It's honestly so much fun to complete a run and get like 50 hegemony credits and go on a spending spree. I love it. I like how the breach as the game goes on starts to feel less like a starting screen and more like a hub for everything. Kind of like the hub for Dark Souls 3. How many times I can bring up Dark Souls 3 in this video, I swear. Oh, look, a chest! Shit. Got him. Yeah, so sometimes that can happen. That was one of the chests I neglected to talk about earlier. Cool. Mimics. This game loves them. Specifically for the chest mimics, you can actually tell if it's a mimic or not before opening it. You might have noticed throughout all my footage of me just casually shooting chests before opening them, and that's because if you shoot a mimic that's hiding as a chest, you get the jump on it before it gets to shoot you. And if you don't want to risk breaking the chest, you can just look and see if it's breathing or not, which if it is or isn't will get harder and harder to tell if it is, depending on which tier of chest it is. With brown chests being pretty obvious, but black and red ones barely moving at all. Or you can just be the hunter and have the dog tell you, that works too. But chests aren't the only thing that you need to look out for when it comes to mimics. Sometimes the f***ing walls are mimics. There are some bright sides to this though. If you kill a chest or wall mimic, they'll drop an item. Specifically for chest mimics, that means you don't have to use a key to get the item, which is nice sometimes. You know, there's even an item revolving around the concept of that. The mimic tooth necklace will make every chest you come across be a mimic. This is nice when you're equipped to deal with these little buggers, so you don't have to use keys, but like, what if you're very low on health and you have keys to spare? I'll put it in B tier because it's a very hit or miss item. And then there's the exact opposite of this, being the ring of mimic friendship. Slap this sucker on and mimics will no longer appear for the rest of the run. Throw that sucker in C tier. Something really funny though, if you have both of these equipped, every chest you come across will both be a mimic and not a mimic at the same time. So essentially it just removes all locks from chests with none of them being mimics, which is really funny to me, honestly. Getting both of them in one run is very unlikely, but if you're stupidly dumb lucky, this could be a very powerful thing. Dude. Remember how in the script I was talking about how if you get the ring of mimic friendship and the mimic tooth necklace, all chests are unlocked?
Oh my f***ing god.
Anyway, enough mimic talk, let's get to the bosses. Shit, come on, man. Yeah, there's a hidden boss you can run into from Chamber 2 to 4 known as the Overlord, the king of all mimics, and as he should be, is a pain in the ass. Just look at me struggling, of course he is. Anyway, he's finally dead, so we can take our loot now. Fuck! Pedestal mimics, awesome, cool, amazing. I actually really like these guys. You can never let your guard down for too long in the Gungeon, even after defeating a boss on a floor, it's amazing. Also, defeating these guys gives you 2 weapons opposed to the one you usually get, wowie. The idea that a mimic could literally be anywhere at any time, even at 2 of the safest places in in the Gungeon being chest rooms and the room after defeating a boss is so cool to me. You always gotta keep on your toes. You never know when a wall mimic could just happen to be behind you. So now that I'm done with that 7-page long rant about mimics, we can talk about the actual bosses. For this floor, we have Billiard Ball, the winner of my Gungeon Smasher Pass, and an actual fucking tank. There's a lore reason for why the tank is here, but
This isn't the lore chapter, is it?
just looking at the barrage of attacks he has makes him seem like he would be way more challenging than he is, but luckily the developers were kind enough to put in a bunch of walls down here as well. I really enjoy the Treadnought, he's cool. Smile. And who's behind door number 2? It's the Mind Flyer. Yeah, remember that one boss I mentioned like an hour ago now? She walks a very fine line between being annoying and being really cool. It's just this one attack where these little bombs get placed everywhere. It's so annoying and hard to dodge and I hate it. But also at the same time, it's very hard to get hit here. It's weird, okay? It's just weird. You only really get it if you fight it. And the Cannon Blarg. It has the unique gimmick of being the most forgettable boss in the game. Yeah, look, I'm sorry, it's cool, but I often just forget it exists. And when your opponent's rememberability on a chamber are Cthulhu and a goddamn tank, the TikTok skull emoji doesn't stand out very much. But I do like it though. This one attack where it bounces off the walls reminds me a lot of that one move that Armored Armadillo does. I'm not sure if that's what they were going for, but it's cool. Well, that's pretty much it for Chamber 3. On to Chamber 4, the Hollow. Here's a cool fun fact. Did you know these ice cube enemies known as mountain cubes, which are also exclusive to this floor, are taken from Dodgerel's first game, known as Fort Parker's Holiday Profit Hike? The Ammonomicon even alludes to them previously wearing sweaters, which they did do in that game. That's cute. Now you might be asking yourself, oh, what a Hooticon? Yes, enter the Gungeon's encyclopedia for all things from guns to items to bosses to enemies, the Ammonomicon. This thing can be opened at any time throughout a run to check the description or effect on anything you currently have or have found. So basically it's an encyclopedia for everything you need to know about a weapon, and a suspicious amount of Bible verses underneath some guns descriptions. It also comes bundled with what is equivalent to a Pokedex for all enemies and bosses. This is just so cool. Sometimes I'll just take a break from the gunslinging and just start reading the descriptions for a lot of enemies. They absolutely did not have to do this, but the fact they did is so cool. And here's a cool fact while we're on the topic. They actually made a physical limited edition of the Ammonomicon a while ago for the PS4 version. You could buy it with the game in a cool box for a pretty reasonable 100, or you could just get it by itself for 60. Combining the number of PS4 copy bundles along with the copies of the book sold by itself, only around 3,500 of these are in existence. Now that might sound like a lot, but this game has sold actual millions, so it's no surprise tons of people wanted their hands on this thing. And currently the book is going for, great googly moogly, that's some coin!
I'm not in the 1%. How am I expected to afford this?
Look, I've done some pretty reckless spending for videos before, but I'm not preparing to drop 500 big ones just for this video.
What, do you think I actually have it? What do you, how insane do you think I am?
You do not want to know how much I paid for this. Yes, I am now one of 3,500 people who own one of these bad boys, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't actually say much more than the regular Ammonomicon does, but it's a really cool collector's item. I have wanted this thing for so long. Ever since it got announced back in 2018, it's a dream come true to finally own it. One day, I don't know which day, but I will get this thing signed by one of the Gungeon devs. Now, what's actually different about this thing? Well, there's some fun doodles in here from the development team, which is pretty cute, and also has major lore implications for no reason.
Wait, this isn't the...
But it would be amiss to talk about the physical Ammonomicon without talking about the exorbitant amount of screw-ups. Yeah, it actually features a strange amount of errors within it. I still haven't found all of them, but the one I remember specifically was them accidentally calling the Prime Primer the Master Round. Whoops, I guess. There aren't many of these though, so it's fine. There's not a lot else I can say besides literally just being the in-game Ammonomicon, but real. But if you ever have $500 laying around, I'd recommend it. Okay, so I didn't add this in my script when I did this, but I'd like to also point out that this was made before the Farewell to Arms update, so it doesn't technically have every gun in it, so you might as well just go and burn them. Anyway, now that we're done with that tangent, we can actually talk about Chamber 4. So this is our dedicated ice level of the game. Oh goody. I love ice physics. I already mentioned the mountain cubes in terms of enemies, but I actually want to talk about them now. So mountain cubes aren't exclusive to the 4th floor, and I'm not just talking about them getting introduced in the 4th floor, I mean you can only find them here. It'll try to slide into the player if you're within one of the 4 directions it can move. Above it, below it, to the left of it, or to the right of it. You could take these guys out so they'll be out of your way, or you could risk it and try to save ammo by not attacking them since they'll dissolve after every other enemy is defeated. Do you want to risk them slamming into while your guard is down, saving both ammo and time, or do you want to go out of your way to defeat them so you have an easier time defeating all the other enemies? It's your choice and I like it. A true risk-reward enemy, it's fun. Another standout enemy of the chamber is the gummy. They'll function like the bandana bulletkin, except for stopping every few seconds to summon a jammed spent. Okay, two things. Does the spent that the gummy just summoned look anything like an actual spent? And the second thing, the spent. These are bulletkin who have been executed, man that's grim, and have come back in new form. They don't even fire bullets, they just try to surround you and overwhelm you. You'll frequently come across these rooms that turn the lights off and throw like 15,000s at you. They're nuts. Quick aside, but I find it funny that the amount of spent that spawns is correlated to the amount of time it takes you to defeat the waves that they throw at you. So if you kill all of them in like 2 seconds, they'll start flooding the room with tons of them. It's hilarious. Okay, I should probably bring up the elephant in the room. The elephant gun. The jammed. What is jammed? To answer that, we need to talk about curse and coolness. Let's start with coolness because it's easier to explain. Coolness is a hidden stat that can be raised by doing certain actions or getting certain items. For example, the rad gun, which just, come on, look at it, it looks sick as hell, will raise your coolness by 2. And coolness affects various things in the game. Starting out most obviously, it lowers reload speed by 5% per point of coolness, and maxes out at 50%. It decreases the chance of chests to have a fuse on it, which unsurprisingly makes a chest blow up if the fuse goes all the way down, but you can just like distinguish the fuse by either putting it in water or unlocking it. But coolness reduces the chance of those to spawn in the first place, which is nice. Niche, but nice. It increases the chance for a pickup to be in a room after it's been cleared and like 15 other abilities that it has. Coolness isn't the most obvious stat. Hell, I didn't even know it existed for a long time, but it's nice that it exists nevertheless. Now we get to the more prevalent twin, curse. So certain items within the game have curse effect on them, similar to coolness. For example, Casey. Casey is a bat in the game, and since the Gungeon melee combat is strictly frowned upon, so Casey has a curse. But the cool thing about curse is that 9 times out of 10, they are really good items or guns, because Casey can do this. Yeah, I'm just gonna put that up there. Now that's all well and nice, but what does curse actually do? So for every 1 curse you have a higher and higher chance of enemies when you walk into a room to be jammed. The jammed are special red and black variants of enemies. That's because it's literally just inverting the colors of the bullets. And if one of these hit you, you will take double the damage of a regular bullet. So is getting a cool item a good trade-off? It's a case-by-case basis mostly. Different items carry different levels of curse, and of course it can stack as well. So if your curses stack high enough, eventually bosses can start to become jammed too. Now, there are other ways to obtain curses that aren't exclusive to weapons. There's a ton of them, so let's quickly go over them all. Starting off, buying anything from Cursula will raise the curse because all her items she sells are cursed. But they're also at cheaper prices, that's a nice. Warship statues usually give curse, but I'm not sure I'm quite ready to go down that rabbit hole of statues yet. Stealing from a shop can also increase curse. This is pretty funny. If you have a cardboard box item, which is a reference to Metal Gear, surprisingly, you can just deadass steal from shops, it's great. The smoke bomb also grants this effect, but it's not nearly as neat. And I'm probably forgetting about another 10 billion things you can do to inflict curse. The only benefit to being cursed I can think of off the top of my head is being able to go to the black market. Also, a different thing I didn't write down, but cursed enemies drop more cash, so that's cool. So sometimes during your runs, you'll find this random ass goat head in the side of a wall, and if you run into it, it'll just damage you. But if you walk into it with either having 100 casings or 1 curse, it'll let you into the black market, where every NPC that sells things is located. And might I just say, how the fuck are players gonna find this? Who the hell looks at this and goes, maybe I'll come back when I have 100 casings? Furthermore, if they did have either a curse or 100 casings and walked in, no way in hell they would be thinking, oh, it let me in because I'm cursed. I love this game, but sometimes it gives me big Terraria vibes in the way sometimes it doesn't feel like discovering it, and it just feels like having Wikipedia constantly open while you're playing Syndrome. Literally, who would figure out that puzzle? Thankfully, that is one of the only 2 things in the whole game that is like that for me, really. But I'll talk about that second thing in like an hour. This script is so far 95 pages long. We haven't even gotten to the forge yet. God help me. You know what? While we're talking about curses and coolness, let's talk about the various other status effects in the game. We've talked about all the ones that the player can have, being burned, poisoned, petrification, stealth, curse, and anger. But what of the ones for the gundead? Obviously, there's poison and burn. I've already talked about those, along with electricity, and I suppose jam counts as well, but there's a mountain of other ones we can talk about as well. Starting off simply and getting more complex as we go, we have freeze, which... geez, I wonder what that does. Stun, which is basically the same thing, but you can still move them around, and they don't take a lot of damage upon being defrosted. Slow, which you're never gonna guess what slow does. Buffed, which can be given to them by these little frog wizard dudes, and will be taken away once they're disturbed or killed. And finally, charmed. This is a weapon-specific one that not a lot of weapons can do, but things such as a shotgun full of love or the charmed bow can inflict this. But if an enemy is hit with the charmed projectile, they'll just change sides and start fighting along with you. It's not incredible, especially considering frustrating when you only have these rare weapons which can inflict it, but it's still cool. But there is one status effect I actually didn't talk about, and it only occurs from one gun in the entire game. Okay, technically two, but just hear me out. This is the JK-47.
I feel cock-blocked.
Yeah, this is a big meme gun that's made to trick you into getting your hopes up that you found an actual AK just to pull the curtain out from under you at the last second and reveal the weapon you got sucked. But if you reload it in front of an enemy, they'll get scared and back off. It's funny, it's not useful, but it's funny. Also, JK goes in D. But is anybody surprised by that? Speaking of the status effects, the hollow is big about the one that freezes people. I already mentioned the mountain cubes, but the floor has a gimmick of these ice cubes that you can push around and have bombs inside. I have never used these once ever, but I guess they're here, which is something. The only thing I found funny about the rooms in the hollow is one of the rooms is just dead-ass a giant pit that you can't cross, and another one is a singular room which all it contains is a cell creep. This guy's pretty cool. He usually spawns in shops, but specifically... This guy's pretty cool. He usually spawns in shops, but specifically in the hollow, he gets his whole room to himself. You throw items down there, he gives you cash. Also, I'm scripting this as I just understood the pun behind his name. His name is Cell Creep because not only is he locked behind the cell, but he's also the only character in the game that you can sell things to. I don't understand how it took me 4 years to understand that pun. Please ignore me, I'm very slow. The bosses!
Oh, I could stall longer.
This time around... Oh shit, yeah, I forgot we had that there. It's been like an hour, I'm so sorry. Anyway, the bosses of Chamber 4 are probably the most unique and my personal favorites. Let's start with my least favorite of the chamber, the High Priestess. She's not a bad boss or anything, but the only two other bosses in the chamber are really good, so I kind of have to put her in last as my least favorite for the chamber. Nothing personal. The Kill Pillars are really cool bosses though. It's a 1-on-4 tag team of you versus a bunch of spooky ghosts.
Oh shit!
Let's name these guys over here. I feel bad that they don't have individual names. I will name them Dora, Johnny, Rocket, and Captain Bones. Something cool I really like about them is that they all have their own health bars, so you can take down individual ones. Until it goes to 3, then 2, then 1, where it just starts chasing you doing a singular attack until defeated. These guys are so cool. And finally, the Wallmonger. The only boss in the game that is fought in the first 4 chambers has its own unique arena. That's because it's the one and only vertical boss in the whole game. It's at the Gungeon, take notes. As you're dodging bullets, you also have to constantly be moving downwards, and if he gets all the way to the bottom, you'll probably get squished or something. I don't know, he's never gotten that far. It's such a cool idea for a boss. And he lives up to the hype too. This guy can be a bitch to deal with sometimes, and I love it. And with that, we're pretty much done with Chamber 4. Not a ton was going on there, but unlike Chamber 2, we are not going to come back to it because it's just kind of boring. Time to move on to the final chamber. Chamber 5, the Forge. Here we are, the last chamber of the game. Just like how our revolver has 5 chambers, so does the Gungeon. By far the hardest chamber so far, predictably. So many of the enemies in this chamber are hardened and advanced versions of previous ones, like the Cubulons are now Cubuleds, which are immune to damage while firing. The bullet and shotgun kin are now ashen shotgun and bullet kin. Remember the mountain cubes from earlier? Yeah, well, they've all been replaced with lead cubes, essentially the same dealio, but you can't destroy them. And so the risk-reward thing I was talking about is now out the window. And so many of the enemies here are like that. I mean, obviously there are new foes, they wouldn't just have a bunch of reskins exclusively for the final chamber. Like the Dead Blows, which are literally just giant hammers that smash down and spread bullets everywhere. Rip Masters, which is not only what my boyfriend calls me, but are also highly prevalent here. I mean, they can spawn on other floors too, but they're a lot more all over the place in the Forge. Unsurprisingly, these things are an Ocarina of Time reference. Yep, that was it, ladies and gentlemen. That was the worst line delivery I've ever had in my entire life. Congratulations for having the pain of hearing that. By the way, I tried to say that was an Ocarina of Time reference, not an Ocarina of Time reference. In that game, there were these hands that could come down and grab Link, sending him back to the beginning of a dungeon, which they function similarly here. If they smash down on you, they'll form a finger gun and fire you back to a previous room. But you could also just dodge roll out of the way and you'll be fine. These things can't actually hurt you, but they're here to damage you in the way of wasting your time and making you repeat a room, which will have all of its enemies back, which can damage you. The Forge doesn't bring in a whole lot of new enemies, but mainly focuses on throwing a ton of old ones at you, along with variants of old ones. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure there's only one new enemy here, and that's the Dead Blows, which you can't even damage, mind you. You could see this as disappointing, but the way I see it is the game sending you on a look how far we've come kind of moment, because it'll probably take you around something like 40 or so runs to even make it to this point. Yeah, I might be making this game look like a walk in the park, but I would like to remind you that I I've actually been playing this game for years. Over all these years and spanning different consoles, I would say I've definitely played around like 400 hours, which compared to some other YouTubers is nothing. Yeah, this game is kind of hard. This was one of those things a lot of journalists flacked it for at the time, but this game will not hesitate to kick your ass. It is extremely difficult. I would probably put it somewhere below Dark Souls 3, but above Dead Cells in terms of difficulty. It is a hard game, and if you're having problems with that, get good. Look, I hate to say that for a lot of games because people's skills vary on what kind of difficulty they can take, but Enter the Gungeon is, as I said much earlier, a very skill-based game. While I'm thinking about it, the game is actually easier until you defeat the dragon, which is pretty funny to me. I'm just gonna throw exactly how easier on screen now. I didn't write it in my script for what it was because it's big complicated. Also, most of the other information for lore and stuff is also sourced from the wiki, so thanks to the people who made and maintained that. This video, I guarantee you, would be 100 times harder to make without you guys. Oh, look, a chest! Go to hell! This item is known as an infuriating note. It does nothing, and there's 6 of them for some reason. Quite the infuriating note indeed. But who left this note? That would be none other than the resourceful rat. So if you ever drop an item or leave a gun in a different room, and also ammo for some reason if you didn't pick that up, this pile of shit will poof in from nowhere, steal it, then dip. Usually at this point I would go into this, that, and the other for why I think the developers put this in the game, but I think he exclusively exists to be a prick, TBH. This is literally just the developers f***ing with the player, and that's pretty funny to me. While I'm on the topic of the rat, I need to talk about something real quick. So there's this one item in the game called the Sprun you can find, and this thing is a f***ing game-breaking menace. I'm going to put it into S tier, and you're just gonna have to sit there and let me explain it. So the Sprun is an item that will summon, without a doubt, the most powerful gun in the game, known as the Wind Gunner, for a limited amount of time, under mysterious circumstances. What are these mysterious circumstances? The game doesn't tell you. But I will. It's random every time you get it, but it can be a lot of things, such as getting poisoned, falling into a pit, taking damage, and most important for us, getting lit on fire. Now you might be wondering, if you have to get hit for it to materialize, then why is it so good? Well, if you happen to get one of the few lucky ones that can be activated without taking damage, such as it appearing when a blank is activated, or being lit on fire, not taking damage from the fire, mind you, just being lit on fire, you can perform one of the coolest glitches in the game. This is easiest to do if it's activated by blank or poison. If you have something that can create poison, like various weapons that can shoot poisonous balls of goo, like the shotgun full of hate or the shot grub. So what you have to do is you have to activate the Sprun, which will then summon the Wind Gunner. Then you have to drop the Sprun item in a separate room and wait for the resourceful rat to steal it. Now, letting the resourceful rat steal something of this caliber would be a fool's errand. But, now that the rat has taken the item, the wind gun will never despawn. You forever now have a stupidly high damaging infinite ammo cannon mounted to your right arm, which the only caveat to doing this is it is permanently now glued to your arm, so you can no longer switch to other weapons, nor collecting weapons from chests switch it. You are forever stuck with this thing attached to you until the end of the run, which in all honesty is a very small price to pay, but if you also can't do the glitch, it's still pretty nice. Dude, I had this one run where I was playing as the convict just so I could get footage of me playing as the convict, and I got the Sprun on the first chamber, and it just so happened to be activated by fire, which the Molotov could do anywhere. So having the Sprun that early on for every chamber would already be considered busted. But later on, I got scattershot bullets, which made them go absolutely everywhere. And since it was already the most powerful gun in the game, the damage debuff that scattershot brings with it didn't really affect anything. I soon became an unstoppable force nobody in the Gungeon dare oppose. S tier. Obviously. Okay, sorry for that tangent, but I just needed to say all that. It was insane. So remember how earlier I said the shopkeep was only on 4 of the chambers? Yeah, well, we have somebody else running the shop here in the forge. This is the blacksmith, and unlike Bello, which is the name of the shopkeep, but they never say it in game once ever, she's actually got some pretty interesting dialogue for us.
It's been a very long time since anyone has come down here. Come to kill your past? You made it further than most, that's for certain. If you thought it was going to be that easy, I've got some bad news for you. The gun that kills the past, like everything else, needs ammunition. Otherwise, well, what's stop time here? That's old magic. If you find the gun, it may fire, but how far back will you go? You might just find yourself right back here again. You want to get out of this place and change something about your past, right? To tear a hole that far back, you'll need a special bullet. I can make it for you, but the materials might prove hard to find. To make the bullet, I'll need the prime primer lost in the upper chambers, some arcane gunpowder mined in the heart of the Gungeon, a shard of planar lead broken off from the great bullet when it struck. and an obsidian shell casing, bored from the teeth of a great beast. Bring all of that to me over many lifetimes, and I will aid you in your quest. Oh right, that arm. I made it for Ox to replace the one he lost. I've been meaning to take it back to the breach, but I'm always so busy. If you bring it to Cadence and Ox, I'd appreciate it, and I'm sure they would too. That is, if you can figure out some way to get it back up.
Okay, that's pretty cool, but it doesn't justify you charging 40 casings for a single key. I could buy an entire Diddy Kong pack and Mario Kart Tour for that money. Not anymore, that game shut down. But yes, as the blacksmith just mentioned, the gun doesn't have any ammo. So if we ever want to exit the Gungeon trademark, we need to construct that bullet. Yeah, we'll be back for that. But for now, there's not a lot else to do on the 5th floor, except for marvel at how large it is. Yeah, this isn't really something I need to bring up, because it's honestly not that big of a deal and very self-explanatory. But the further you go down to the Gungeon, the larger the floors get. I mean, like, obviously that makes the game harder, so why wouldn't they? I don't know, I just thought I'd bring it up. Look, I'm leaving this game with no stone unturned. You bet your ass I'm bringing up that each floor takes slightly longer because each floor is slightly larger. And here's a weapon that's slightly longer. Be dear! I honestly don't have a lot else to say about floor 5 because, as I mentioned earlier, it's pretty much just a gauntlet meant to test your abilities. So let's cut the chit-chat and finish this game. So no matter what you do, the Dragon will always be the boss of the Chamber 5. And honestly, I don't think she has yet to be boring for me. She can breathe fire, shoot 2 pistols in multiple directions, or just straight at you, throw knives at walls that are sentient and strapped. She even has a fucking rocket launcher. This boss is insane. Usually a boss at the end of a chamber would boil down to around 4 or 5 attacks, so it's easy to remember. And since those bosses only lasted about a minute or 2, it was fine because it wouldn't last long enough anyways to get repetitive. But the Dragon has like 12 different attacks, I want to say. Probably less than that, but I don't know, it might be. This is an excellent final boss for the Gungeon. She even has a second phase where you need to dodge through these giant wave of fire coming at you, then blast at her heart until it's finished. Also, just a quick note, the Dragon doesn't drop any rewards besides casings and hegemony credits, but if you defeat her damageless, then she'll actually drop a master round, which is, I think is cool. Yeah, I forgot to rank these things. At least I think I did. I don't know. The script is currently 120 pages long. Cut me some slack here. But they're fine, I guess. I'll put one of them into B tier. They all do the same thing, so it's whatever. But now that the Guardian of the Gun has been defeated, you can use its spine as a bridge, pretty gruesome, and claim your prize. I'm not sure if this technically counts as another floor, especially since it only lasts like a minute, but this is the Aimless Void, the resting place for the gun that can kill the past. Before I open that chest though, you're not allowed to use any guns or items here, but all passive things you have are still active, so if you have something like the wax wings that'll let you fly, you can just leave. It's very funny. But with not much else to do, it is time to open the chest and finish this. Okay, well, only kind of. The gun can only take you so far back in the past without the ammunition required. So do you know where the gun takes you now? Right back to the start. You've essentially achieved nothing in your quest, but you did get one thing. Knowledge. You now know you need to craft the bullet and give it back to the blacksmith along with all of the other secrets in the Gungeon that have yet to be found. What was that strange minecart room in the black powder mines? What was it with the pit in the hollow? Why was the resourceful rat an asshole? All of those and more are for you to find. Or should I say me to tell you, like right now. Okay, just quickly though, I find it funny even though you technically just went back like half an hour in time. Everybody found in the Gungeon is now back at the breach. That feels like a time paradox, but whatever, it's a f***ing video game, dude, I don't care. So here we are, back at the breach. I don't feel like coming back here again, so let's just go over all the NPCs that are here. Some of the specialty shops that are down in the Gungeon, if you buy from them, they'll start selling stuff in the breach as well. Obviously for hegemony credits, not casings. We have Professor Gupton, who specializes in selling poison-based things, Trork, who sells mostly military and explosive-like items, and Doug, who mainly sells bullet modifiers, such as ghost bullets or devolver rounds. And then there's just a bunch of NPCs up here who literally do nothing besides have some dialogue. dialogue. Winchester, Drunkard, Gunsling, King, and Manservantress, Sir Manuel, and Blockner, and my favorite is the Ledge Goblin. You can kick her helmet into the void and she'll progressively get more and more annoyed with you. It's great. But there are two NPCs here that do something that no other NPCs do, and that's Frightful and Grey Mouser. These two goons will give you hunting quests to go do in the Gungeon, like hunt 40 hollow points or something like that. Request is complete and they'll drop a bunch of hegemony credits to unlock a new gun or item, and then they'll give you a new one. It's kind of grindy if you're just going for the achievements, but since it's always there in the background, it's pretty nice. Also, thank you to Mod the Gungeon for letting me f***ing cheat this one. For other NPCs here, there's Ox and Cadence, who we already went over, and Tinker, but we're not quite ready to talk about him. There's also a bunch of NPCs that are exclusively to the Gungeon. Here's the list of all of them that appear exclusively in the Gungeon, exclusively in the Breach, or both. And just for fun, I made it a political chart. Winchester and the Gunsling King are both NPCs I already mentioned, but they both appear in the Gungeon and have quite unique things they'll do, since they literally do nothing in the Breach. Both of them can be found randomly down there, and both offer a unique challenge. Winchester will have a shooting range where you can pay around 30 to 40 casings, to get a chance of some pretty dope loot. Depending on how many faces you shoot, the higher rarity of chest you'll get, with hitting all of them equaling either red or black chests. Gunsling King is a bit more interesting though. For the next room, he'll offer a bet and then a challenge, such as no dodge rolling for the next room or no taking damage. If you lose money, and if you win, you get your money back plus a gun or item. I always play with these guys if I find them. Also, if they spawn on a fork in the road and you just so happen to go through the room they were talking about, tough luck, I guess. Hey there, what's up? Sorry, you caught me post-editing my script realizing I forgot one of the characters that fits that description. The Lost Adventurer is a character you can occasionally find down in the Gungeon, and if found, will ask you to map out the entirety of what floor he's on. And once you do, he'll give you a random item or gun of any quality. The reason I forgot to mention him is because he only appears in the Breach if you mapped out all 5 floors. Okay, sorry, back to what I was saying. Alright, finally the shops that are down here. I promise I'll be quick. Curselaw, who we've already talked about, just sells items for cheaper, but they're all cursed. Old Red, who sells items primarily revolving blanks. Turok, who just like in the Breach, sells military stuff. Same with Professor Gupton, they just sell weird-ass items. Cindergrace, who doesn't reside in the Breach, for a certain amount of money will give you a synergy chest. I would talk about what a synergy chest is later when I talk about all of the chests, but honestly, I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory. You open it and it gives you a synergy. Okay, maybe not, but it could have. It's a 50-50 chance if you get a synergy or not. If it's blue, you get one. If it's red, you don't. That's pretty much all of the NPCs I'll talk about for now. Well, there's not a lot else that we can do here in the Breach, so we might as well jump back in. It's time we crack this game wide open and reveal all the secrety goodness. So let's start by constructing the bullet. The prime primer was that cheese wheel we found earlier back in Chamber 2 that's being sold for 110 casings. Now, there is a possibility you could afford this in the 2 chambers it gives you to save up, but yeah, I don't think that's happening. But there is another way. So do you remember that one room with the fireplace? Well, it just so happens that 9 times out of 10, a water barrel spawns within that same room. Yeah, you see where this one's going. Also, just in case it gets destroyed while you're here fighting Gundead, another one also spawns nearby, typically in a shop or something. But if both of those break, if you have a weapon or item that can spread liquids that, of course, isn't gasoline, you can extinguish it that way too, as a last resort kind of thing. Now you can walk into the fireplace, activating a switch that reveals a silhouette of a hidden room somewhere in the first chamber. In there's a hatch that requires 2 keys to open. Okay, actually, you know what? Here's a cork board, and here's the Gungeon. I'm gonna keep periodically checking in so everything is, like, easier to follow going forward, and, like, make a flow chart of the Gungeon. Because this shit gets confusing, man. So remember like an hour ago when I put the pilot's trusty lockpick up into the higher tiers? Well, here's the reason that I did that. No matter what, Chamber 1 will always give you 2 keys. One you spawn with, and another one the shop sells. At a bare minimum, you will have 2 keys by the end of this floor. Assuming you bought one, that is. And the thing is, unless you get lucky and get a 3rd key, you're going to have to use these things to unlock the grate. So that will leave you stranded with only your starter weapon. Unless you're the pilot. His trusty lockpick gives you 2 50-50 chances to get an item or weapon since 2 chests spawn on per floor. Also, I didn't write this down, but chests can spawn after clearing a room if you're lucky, so even higher than that. A second option would be fighting the boss with just your starter, then getting a weapon or item that way, which also isn't great because the starter weapons overall aren't great. No matter which way you slice it, the pilot's lockpick is great for this floor. Hell, if you're desperate, you could even use the lockpick on one of the locks to the grate. Okay, I've been talking this thing up quite a bit. What's actually inside here? Welcome to floor 1.5, the Oubliette, or the sewers as some people call it. The Oubliette is probably more challenging than Chamber 2, but below Chamber 3 in difficulty. Also coming down here unlocks the trash cannon, F tier. It only has 50 rounds, does piss all damage, and spreads poison, specifically on the corners of the room, which I guarantee you enemies will not be in the corners of the room. Usually, you'll be in the corners of the room trying to avoid them. I'm pretty sure I've damaged myself more with this gun than actual enemies, it's horrible. But I think that's kind of the irony of its existence, literally being trash. The Oubliette has pretty much everything you would expect from a regular chamber. 2 chests, a shop, strange statues I should probably talk about right about now. This is just a no-nonsense extra chamber. Speaking of statues, I should probably talk about them right about now. Hey, editing me here. So I used Mod the Gungeon to capture all the shrine footage, just so like it'd be easier and I didn't have to skim through literally over 100 hours of Enter the Gungeon footage to find the shrines I needed. The problem with that was, Mod the Gungeon was not built to handle spawning shrines, so sorry if a lot of the footage looks really f***ed up, like shrines spawning in walls. So randomly throughout runs of the Gungeon, you can find these things, known as shrines, in their own self-contained room. Typically in the center of a room surrounded by pits, with the various shrines doing different things. But how they work is either giving you a negative effect like curse and whatnot, or just taking some HP, but at the same time giving you something good in return, like ammo. Like the ammo shrine, it'll refill the ammo of all of your weapons, but raise curse by like a lot. And while we're here, we might as well talk about all of them, because why not? The angel shrine will take away 1 heart container, but will raise your attack. The companion shrine will take away 1 heart container, but give you a random familiar. Also, I didn't mention it, a familiar is a little dude that'll follow you around like the hunter's dog. The peace shrine will heal you 1 heart in exchange for your currently held gun. Okay, a lot of those are pretty boring, but the rest of these are really unique. The blank shrine. The only legible text is offering, the rest is blank. Oh, f*** off. The challenge shrine, the one that's more unique than any of the other ones. Instead of spawning in the middle of a room surrounded by pits, it'll instead spawn in an arena, and activating it triggers a bunch of enemies to spawn, and beating them gets you a chest. The YV shrine, which is probably a reference I'm not getting, paying 10 casings will sometimes, when you go to fire, give you an extra shot. Also, if you go to it again, it'll ask for 20, then 30, and so on and so on, raising your chances of extra bullets to come out with each tier of shrine paid. All that does is just increase the chances. I find this thing particularly good since all it does is cost money. If you have something like the RPG, then yeah, you'd be stupid for not doing this. Hell, even having something that's rapid fire like the machine pistol or Vulcan cannon, this is good for. Just more bullets. Who doesn't want more bullets? Junk shrine gives you a piece of armor for junk.
Holy shit, I'm so invested.
The blood shrine, which, and stay with me here, will remove 1 heart container. I know, that's f***ing unheard of, but in exchange will give you a vampiric kind of effect if you stand near enemies. It'll suck them dry, even healing you in the process. This would never be a good trade. The only scenario I can see this in is like if you have tons of hearts and you don't mind giving up any, but like, skip this one. The glass shrine, which is my personal favorite because all it does is give you 3 glass Guon stones. And that's it. It doesn't take anything from you. The things that it gives you isn't even that good. Honestly, it's just funny. Also, while I'm here, glass Guon stone. Even though it's technically an item, the game treats it like any other pickup, which I think is fitting because if you get hit, it'll go away. But while it's there, it circles around you, possibly shields you from bullets. It ain't that good. Literally no downsides to this shrine. It's amazing. Okay, here's a cool one. Dice. This shrine will give you a random buff and debuff when prayed at. I'm not going to go over all of the effects because that would take a very long time, and honestly, I don't feel like it, but this one is never not fun to just go, f*** it, and use it. It's great. And the Beholster Shrine. If this thing is offered the Commando, the M1911, the Void Marshal, the Machine Pistol, the Eye of the Beholster, and the Tank Gun, it'll give you the synergy Behold. The Eye of the Beholster will be returned to you, but this time every weapon that the Beholster uses will circle around you. This is f***ing awesome. Also, there's another shrine that removes his curses or whatever. I like the concept of the shrines. I wish they didn't milk the removes 1 heart container thing, but I still think it's neat. I was supposed to talk about this earlier, but this script is being assembled by Shoestring, so I'm not talking about this chamber's unique enemies. It's a sewer. It's damp, wet, moist, horrible. So obviously, the enemies reflect that. The mutant bullet and shotgun kin were gundead that were left to rot in the sewers of the Oubliette, eventually becoming these mutated and twisted forms of their previous selves. And this somehow gave the shotgun kin better bullet speed. And the mutant bullet kin have tumors growing out of them and throwing up all over themselves. It's a mess down here. Our beloved blobulons have now become poopulons, no longer splitting into multiple guys and now just dying instantly. They do spin pretty obnoxiously though. Could you imagine having to work on this enemy?
Sir, I'm done. I finished it. No. Just Populon.
Also, while I was down here, I found a bulletkin that wasn't attacking for some reason. Sorry, son, it had rabies, had to be put down. I would definitely not recommend coming down here if you are new to the game. Even now, the enemies down here sometimes manage to damage me. Anyway, since I'm here, we might as well do the boss. Oh god, it's spreading! Yeah, unlike other typical floors, the Obulette only has one boss, which of course is Big Boy here. So since Blobulord was the only boss of this chamber, they had to balance both simplicity and complexity so it wouldn't get boring, but also wouldn't overwhelm people, and I think they struck a pretty good middle ground. It just annoys me. All of its attacks are pretty fine, it's just what's one where it goes into the floor, makes you wait like 12 years for it to come out. Still though, I like that he's here. Honestly, this whole second floor is unneeded, but it's really nice that it exists. I will never not come down here in most of my runs. Unfortunately, there's not a lot else for me to talk about, unless you count this random shield I found that just filled up an armor space and little else, then I don't know what to do on. Anyway, back to Chamber 2, we can now afford the Prime Primer, so it's our job to get that bullet parts. And you know what? I'm tired of taking the elevator, I want to see what's down here. Was that like a Graper song? This is Tinker. Apparently at one point in time, these elevators will let you go to any floor you wanted to, but has now been lost to Gungeon history. Well, Tinker's here to fix that. He needs a bunch of materials, though, in order to do it. Usually just wanting keys, hegemony credits, and some random thing at most times. Like a master round or 4 junk on the hollow for some reason. Well, that's all fixed up, so we can now instantly take an elevator to Chamber 2, skipping the first one. Then he'll appear in Chamber 3, then Chamber 4, you get the gist. We'll do that later, though, I can't be bothered right now, so anyways, on to Chamber 3 now, where we can find that arcane gunpowder. Using my powers of Wikipedia, I was able to pinpoint its location on the other side of this pit here. Okay, you know what? I'll give them this. This puzzle's actually really clever. Remember way back in the tutorial when I mentioned you could dodge roll into minecarts? Yeah, well, it's now important. You need to dodge roll into these levitating minecarts so you can just ride them over the void into shaboom, you're at the other side. So you can grab the arcane gunpowder. Also, by the way, this thing takes up an active item slot, so if you're planning on grabbing this in a run, I would suggest either the pilot or the hunter, since one of them has no active item and the other one you can carry too. Alright, let's get out of here. Or not, that works too. Mini bosses, this game has them. Let's quickly go over all of them real quick, since there's only 3. We have Blockner, who just returns as a spirit every once in a while to challenge you. It's literally the same fight, but I assume they brought him back because they wanted to have more than 2 mini bosses. Plus, you made an entire boss, why would you only use it once? Shadow Magician, who is a parody of the Dark Magician from Yu-Gi-Oh! He's pretty fun, but I think it would make more sense if we talk about him in a little bit later. And Fusilier. This guy blows hard, I hate him. He moves around so goddamn fast, has a ton of health, very impressive attacks, he sucks. Also, the fact you can run into this guy on literally the 2nd floor isn't helping anything. If you're an experienced player, this guy is just annoying. But if you're a new player, I am so sorry. Anyway, that detour's over. Let's go down to Chamber 4 and grab the second to last bullet part. So the planar lead is located on the other side of that really long room with the pit in the middle of it I was talking about earlier. And unlike the minecart one, this isn't a really cool puzzle because there's an invisible bridge somewhere in the room that has a ton of turns in it and you'll need to find a way to navigate it. There's 3 ways I see people solving this one. Option 1, which just involves spraying the floor with some kind of liquid like the Mega Dowser in order to just reveal the path that way. Option 2, where people know what they're doing and they shoot one of their guns backwards, which leaves one of their casings on the invisible pathway, revealing it like that. Or option 3, where a new player gets confused and just waits until they have something like the grappling hook or the balloon gun. I just don't think it's very well communicated to the player that there is an invisible walkway here at all. Maybe if they had some kind of incomplete bridge that fell into the void, then continued off into having the invisible bridge, but this is just kind of a if you know kind of thing. And unfortunately, absolutely no one without a guide is going to know. Please comment down below if you're actually able to solve this organically, because I would be astounded if there's anybody who actually did. Also, this is a great time to mention that technically all of these things count as items, but I've decided I'm not going to rank them because after they're collected and given to the blacksmith, you can't get them ever again. And what tier would I even put them in? Would I put them in S tier because they're technically required to 100% the game? Or would I put them in F tier because they do literally nothing? I don't know, and it just doesn't seem fair to rank them with everything else. Now that that's all gathered, we can head down and grab the final thing in the forge. Yeah, there's no real complex thing for this. You just need to shoot open the dragon's skull after defeating him and take it. Also, oddly enough, this is the only one that respawns. It's literally useless, but hey, maybe you just want to take it to feel cool. So now that we're done collecting everything, we can finally pop back to the blacksmith and have her make the bullet that can kill the past.
You're back. So you brought me the planar lead. Thank you. That's everything. I must say I'm impressed. It's been a long time since I've made a bullet like this, and you brought enough for several bullets. If you fail, just come back another time. It is done. Here you are. Give him hell, soldier.
Can do. But I'm not really ready to talk about the can of worms that is the Gungeoneer's past. First, I'd rather talk about some other Gungeon secrets. So remember that diseased bulletkin from earlier in the Obulette? No, not that one. Not that one either. That's the ticket. Well, these guys actually won't attack you if you let them live. They just kind of sit there. And eventually, they'll just teleport away. But here's the cool thing. If you find them, let them live, and do that 5 times, you can unlock the bullet as a playable character. This is, in fact, funny as shit. So the bullet actually has the lowest amount of things any character has, being only 2. Their cape, known as live ammo, which when rolling into an enemy does a shitload of damage. This is just kind of whenever. I never use this. Not to mention, stupidly situational. F tier. Okay, actually, I'm gonna redo that. D tier, just because it removes contact damage, which can be useful in a pinch, but you're never really gonna be that close to enemies in the first place, so D. And the starting weapon being blasphemy. And might I just say, why the hell doesn't this thing have curse? This is very obviously a melee weapon. There is no way in hell you could convince me this is a gun. I mean, at full health, it technically does fire one of these beams, which I guess could be considered bullets. But if I had a rock that looked like a face and it shot bullets, you wouldn't call it I'll shut up. This might come as a shock, but this character is a huge Legend of Zelda parody. More on that later, but their starting weapon, Blasphemy, is an insane weapon. Definitely better if you are really good at the game. As I mentioned before, it'll fire off sword beams as long as you're at full health, and if you take damage, it's just a regular sword. Not only is the sword beam plus the melee hit really high damaging, but the swipe of the sword will actually negate incoming bullets. But if you get hit, this thing's utility basically drops through the floor. So I'm feeling like a B tier on this one. Very similar gimmick to the balloon gun, which I brought up so many times, so I might as well rank it. It's a B tier. It does a lot of damage, it'll let you float, which basically means you can go over pits, poison, fire, anything on the ground really. But if you get hit, it pops, so like whatever. I would definitely say the bullet is the Gungeoneer with the highest skill ceiling to them. I mean, the whole incentive for picking him is really just his starting weapon, which is an absolute monster of a starter. But if you are still inexperienced, maybe just skip them for now. But there's still another unlockable character I have to talk about. So after Tinker fixes the first elevator, there will now be a busted television down there in his hole, which is also technically an item, but I'm not going to rank it because it literally just unlocks a character. It's useless as an item by itself, but without it, you can't unlock an entire other character, so how would I even rank this?
It's the gun component problem all over again!
The busted television not only takes up an active item slot, but will also fall out of your inventory if you dodge roll. So if you try to go over a pit, good luck with that one, buddy. Luckily, you can throw it, but it's still very annoying. What's worse is if you accidentally leave it in another room, the bastard rat will take it. Why do you want it? Anywho, if you bring the TV all the way to the blacksmith, you get...
Speak.
that. So now we can play as the robot character, and this little dude is by far the most complex out of all of them. So let's just start with the elephant in the room, the special thing that okay, you know what, the blacksmith said he, so I'm wrong with it. Even though I just realized the developers made the biggest missed opportunity to make him non-binary, considering he's a robot. Binary. Robot. Binary! Anyway, the elephant in the room. The robot's special thingy is that instead of having health, he has 6 armor to start with. Now that might sound great from the outset, just based off the fact that 1 piece of armor is better than 1/2 a heart, and since he has 6 armor points to start off with, yeah, this should be better. And then you take damage and run into a heart that gets dropped. And then reality sets in. So you might look at him only having armor without the ability to pick up health as a downside. And it absolutely is. This is 100% a downside. But I feel like everything else he has makes up for it. His starting weapon, the robot's right hand, is in my opinion the best starter we have thus far. It has a large magazine, pretty decent damage, its accuracy is really good. This is just a really solid weapon, not much I can say about it. Also B tier, but like the higher B tier. Okay, so his passive and active items only really work if I talk about them together, so I'm going to do that. His battery bullets electrify the water, and his coolant leak spreads water in a straight line. So you can basically put down a spike strip anywhere you want. As long as you shoot the water, that is. It's good for racking up extra damage. Also, battery bullets give him 50% better accuracy, because why not? Also, just quick side note, you can use the coolant leak to put out the fire in the fireplace to access the Obulette. Just thought that was worth bringing up. The problem with these two items is, like, how do I rank them? Do I rank them together or separately? Because individually they'd be around D tier or something, but together I'd put them both in C and B. I don't know, I'll put them both in C and stop thinking about it. I think the robot is a very funny and solid character. No matter how bad or how obtrusive a gimmick gets, the character will never be as bad as the convict. Also, a quick side note that the robot became probably my favorite character out of all of them. So much I had to use only the first 10 parts of like all of my footage because the rest of it is just me playing as other characters I have yet to talk about, or the robot. Anyway, now that the gang's all here, let's go finally fix our past. Let's start in the order that they happened chronologically. So first up is the Hunter, taking place over 1,000 years ago. She's storming somebody by the name of Dr. Wolfenclaw's fortress, obviously a little jab to the Wolfenstein series, so let's get on in there.
I don't know what they're using this for, but I know it can't be good.
Welcome, you finally made it.
Dr. Wolfenclaw, we meet again.
Since you seem so interested in my work, I'm sure you'll be thrilled to assist me in my latest experiment.
Never! You and your whole bogus religion are twisted. I'm here to stop you.
And cost science 100 years of advancement? I think not. Besides, I don't intend on making it optional. I assure you it is futile to resist. Your new body isn't quite ready. I didn't expect you quite so soon. Don't worry though, you'll be kept nice and fresh in one of these cryopods until then.
Is this the end?
Such technology! How? No matter.
This is the easiest boss in the damn game. Wolfenclaw's monster goes down in like 12 seconds, it's hilarious. So how this fight works is that Wolfenclaw will run away to one part of the arena and start buffing up his monster. But the thing is, you can't kill him, so you need to keep periodically attacking him to make sure the fight goes down smoothly. The problem is, even when he's buffing up the boss, it's still a walk in the park. This might actually be the easiest boss in the game, I'm not joking, it's pathetic. Wolfenclaw has been defeated and the past has been fixed. Anyway, that's the Hunter's past taken care of. We unlock her dog as an item. Anybody can get along with her new dog from the past, the wolf. Probably one of the better familiars. The wolf will run up and start attacking people opposed to periodically spawning loot, which is honestly a lot better, A tier. Next up, 117 years ago, is the robot's past. Also, fun fact, he has the same spawning thing as the Terminator, which I just thought was funny.
This unit welcomes ye. Please proceed. EMP-ROR is eager to begin the ceremonies.
Ah, my finest warrior. Ye who have put to slaughter more humans than any of our kind have earned the highest honor. We have captured the leader of the human resistance, the last hope of humanity, and it is ye who shall crush her and finally put an end to this insignificant rebellion. Now. The robot army will
As I think the big dude just said, it's our task to kill the last remaining human, who is literally just Sarah Connor. She has very low health, but that doesn't mean she isn't difficult. She can spread poison everywhere, summon a bunch of other humans to attack you. If the weapon they gave you wasn't busted out the wazoo, then this would probably be the hardest past fight. Yeah, the robot's left hand. It's incredible. A+. And now humanity has been destroyed and the robots rule the earth. Hooray!
Ye are victorious. Ye have saved the planet from the human menace. The robot army will clean up the remaining vermin. Our purpose is fulfilled. Further function is not required. Entering low power mode.
The Unabomber laws. It's left ambiguous when the bullets past happens, but I'm just gonna place it somewhere around here because that makes more sense for the lore things.
Oh my younglets, only you can save us. I tried to wield the ancestral weapon, but its design is alien to me. When I aim and fire, it just stabs me in the head. Even though it has lost much of its great power, it said it can reflect the magic of the Dark Wizard. I fear all is lost. Aim true my...
Fucking dumbass. So we take our trusty, really shitty sword and move to the next room where we have to fight some gun nuts, then get behind a moving wall. Yeah, remember when I said this guy was literally just a big Zelda reference? His entire past is based off A Link to the Past. And you also remember when I said we would talk about that one mini-boss later? Because here we fight a Gunum, who's pretty much just a copy and paste of the mini-boss from earlier. But this time he's got a dead man's volley from Ocarina of Time. This is so cool, I love this. Anyway, he goes down pretty easily and we get to face that true threat, Dark Lord Cannon. God, that's funny. Yeah, here's a fun fact, I never played a Zelda when I was little, but but I did play Gungeon, so everything in this boss was completely lost on me. Ganon is literally just Ganon from A Link to the Past. It's very comical. But unlike A Link to the Past, his boss absolutely reeks. He just keeps spamming the same 2 attacks over and over again. And since the only weapon I have is this dinky-ass sword, it's very tedious. It literally is just let him attack, wait for him to stop attacking, get in like 2 hits, repeat for 4 minutes. It just feels very monotonous and lame. And now the descendants of the Gungeon are free, hooray! Next up is the Convict's Past from 12 years ago.
Finally.
Hey boss, they're here. It's the 8th man. I don't know how they got in so fast. Most of the crew is already pinched. You gotta make a break for it, boss. If they take you down, we're all hosed.
What are all these hegemony goons doing here?
An arrangement has come to an end. How long did you think your little operation was going to last, LL? The imperial hegemony of man cannot allow this to continue. An example has to be
You traitorous dog. We had a deal. You're dead.
I admire your conviction. But we've got this place completely surrounded. Boys, Booker.
Hegemony Citizen 83H4 I-59, primary alias Laser Lily. You're under arrest for collusion, embezzlement, and extortion. You're also currently under investigation for tax evasion, armed robbery, credit fraud, wanton destruction of property, the illegal sale of arms, aiding and abetting, drug trafficking, smuggling of prohibited substances, grand larceny, and several counts of conspiracy to commit murder. We'll be taking you in. Don't make any sudden moves, put your hands on the desk.
Okay, so here's a funny thing. Every character has unique dialogue if you choose to do the thing that brought them to the Gungeon in the first place, like the robot disobeying protocol. And the convict was originally going to have dialogue like that, but they didn't put it in, so it just has the same dialogue twice. Lazy ass game dev, 0 out of 10. Anyway, now that we're done with those goons, it's time to dance.
I didn't expect they'd hold you for long, but now that you're resisting arrest, you won't leave this room alive. Let's dance!
Here's a fun fact. Remember 2 years ago when we were talking about Fork Parker's holiday profit hike? Yeah, well, Blackstash was actually one of the characters from that game. He was just a background character, but I think that's neat. Anyway, he's like a rather difficult as boss, I guess. I've been talking about Enter the Gungeon for over an hour. Do you think I have something interesting to say about every boss? Bitch, there's still like 10 bosses I haven't talked about. Asa, Blackstash is dead, and I need a shower. And the convict leaves, cool. Also, I was ranking every like new thing that the characters got, but she didn't get any new things. She just had a drum gun. Lazy ass game devs. Now, unlike the bullet where it just said year question mark, the pilot's past has this weird bug where it doesn't say anything in the title card. Strange, but whatever.
That's almost all of it, Z. Just grab what's left and let's boogie.
Yeah, hold your space horses. You can't rush something like this. Besides, H-Mon don't have eyes everywhere. There's no way we'll run into anybody out here. Just gotta get the clamp lined up. Oh, no irony!
Unregistered craft. Sword. This is HM Absolution. Your craft has been scanned and is known to be carrying property of the imperial hegemony of man. You will be towed by standard tractor. Power off all systems but life support. Any acts of aggression will be met with supreme prejudice. Comply within 20 seconds.
You got to make the jump and get out of here. There's no time for me to dock.
But you don't have a jump drive.
Just go!
I can't.
Go!
Yeah, okay, this is rad as hell. This is the only past I can think of that drastically changes the gameplay like this. I mean, if you boil it down, all it does is make your character a bit smaller and a bit spaceship, but it's still really cool. Also, I'm not ranking his missiles because they are exclusive to here and just steal the sprite from the rocket bullets. Also, the rocket bullets have a complete different functionality than the pilot's missiles, so it's weird that they use that. I don't really care though, it works. Anyway, this boss fight, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's not boring like the hunters, it's not anywhere like the convicts, and it's not...
Now where will I sit?
Like the bullets, this is a cool concept mixed with actual good execution, and probably one of my favorite bosses in the game. How could you not love it?
I can't believe you did that! Where did you learn those moves?
Another time. Let's get out of here.
You don't have to tell me twice.
And the final past, the Marines, only taking place 7 years ago.
Oh, it's you. Didn't expect to see you again. Something went wrong during the test. Something came out of the opening. The escape pods are just down the hall. Save yourself. You're good at that. Maybe you can still help them.
Sure thing. Time to finish off the past with the interdimensional horror. I think this thing is very funny because it references two different things that completely went over my head when I was younger. Not only is this thing named after your mom, but his entire boss fight is a huge Doom parody. Even the Marine's little standing pose here in the title card is a reference to Doom. Yeah, a bunch of bigwig scientists accidentally summoned a demon. Whoops. It's a pretty alright boss. Something interesting to note though is that a lot of these bullet patterns are actually taken from the other things within the Gungeon. I especially love the little Marines from the bottom sides of the room who, depending on where the horror is literally shooting at nothing. It's not that hard of a boss though, it goes down pretty quickly. And with the Marine getting the Intergalactic Medal of Valor, everybody has killed their past and can finally leave. Why do I feel like I'm forgetting a character? Okay, fine, I've pushed along long enough. Here's the Cultist. Exclusive to the multiplayer, the Cultist is whoever player 2 would be playing as. Now, I don't really have anybody to play with in real life to try out multiplayer with, so I tried Parsec, but since my internet is about as good as trying to wash dishes with a hammer, that didn't go so great. I'm probably not going to rank any of these things because lack of friends, I guess, but it's cool if the game has a co-op. And hey, if you're mad about that, you rank them. I'll at least explain what they do. Their starter weapon is a Nerf gun, that's hilarious. Their active item is a cookie, which upon either you or your partner dying can bring one of them back to life, and their bandana thingy, which if one player dies, player 2 gets buffed up as hell. And shockingly, the Cultist even gets their own past. You just kill the player 1, that's pretty much it. There's no real lore things going on here. Anyway, now that every character has fixed their past, they can finally leave and put this place behind them.
But I can't.
Yeah, we still got another like 70 pages of script worth of stuff to talk about, so buckle up. Let's quickly rewind back to when I was talking about Chamber 2. Do you remember that pedestal room? Well, if you bring that piece of armor from the Overlord, known as the Old Crest, all the way to this room without getting... God damn it. Without getting... Son of a bitch. Without getting... I've got a beanbag now. If you bring the Old Crest all the way to that random room with the coffins in it from Chamber 2, and place it upon the altar, it'll reveal a staircase heading downwards. And jumping down that hole... Welcome to Chamber 2.5, but more commonly known as the Abbey of the True Gun. For the time you'll get here in the game, I'll probably say this is around as hard as the Forge. Getting here is a challenge, and getting through here is even harder. You better be ready if you're going to come here. It will f*** you up. Not only does this floor have some of the hardest enemies in the game, but some of note are the Cardinals. These guys basically just function like regular bulletkin, but every few seconds they'll fire out a little ball of homing projectile out of their hoods. Bloodbulons, which, gee, I wonder how long it took you to come up with that name. Bloodbulons, instead of splitting up when attacked, will grow larger, basically becoming a bullet sponge until receiving enough damage will explode into a ton of bullets. And the Executioners, who are only shotgunkin by a technicality. I mean, they're larger and the most different looking out of all of them, so I don't really know how they're shotgunkin, but they cool. I mean, obviously they have shotguns, but they can also fire off some chain attacks, which are cool, I guess. Also, when they die, they explode into a string of bullets that come right at you. And if you didn't know that, ouch, I guess. Can you tell I'm running out of synonyms to say I like enemies? Maybe I should have saved that $300 I spent at the Ammonomicon and bought a thesaurus instead.
Oh, Wheel of Transitions, give me something to talk about. That'll do.
Like that one in the tutorial, you can find hidden walls scattered across the Gungeon. How you reveal these things, you have to shoot at a wall, usually spawning in a chest room, and if it cracks, huzzah, you found a hidden room. Typically, these have some goodies in them, like extra ammo, health, some chests, but there are some cool hidden room exclusive NPCs, like the witches who will have a pot, and if you put in a gun, they'll give you a different one back, but it has curse on it. Or the old man who is ripped straight from Zelda, and yes, funny. But why am I choosing to talk about hidden rooms right now? Well, that's because exclusively in the Abbey, you can find Brother Albulern. Holy shit, it's Brother Albulern, everybody.
I am Brother Albulern, knower of several truths. If thou seekest to open mine truth chest, then ponder mine question thusly. What is thine favorite color?
Well, you're not giving me much of a choice, especially because my favorite color isn't even listed.
Verily it must be so. Receive thy reward, O truthful hero.
Okay, thanks, Brother Albulern, I love you. Yeah, that specific chest, no matter what you say here, you're guaranteed to at least get something. There's literally no wrong answer. And while we're on the topic, we might as well talk about the rest of the chests I haven't brought up yet. Just a quick recap though, chests brown through black will give you rarities of items D through S, and synergy chests will maybe give you synergy sometimes. There's Brother Albulern's truth chest, which I literally just talked about, and the remaining few. There is a co-op chest, specifically if you're playing playing co-op with your partner and they die, you can find their body and it'll revive them opening this. And before talking about the last two chests, I want to talk about something else every other chest can do. You can actually break chests, typically giving you junk, but sometimes giving you a heart, a key, deadass exploding, and maybe sometimes a gun of a downgraded rarity. But it can also drop... It's alive. So you know those really shitty memes that just try to bait interactions where it says something like, this is Pablo, you'll see him once and never again, say hi to Pablo. Well, that's literally just Junkin. He has a 20% chance to drop from a chest instead of junk after destroying one, and he's probably the best familiar in the game. For every one junk you collect, he will get more and more powerful, eventually even becoming stronger than you. The game is even aware of how overpowered he is. If you have Junkin at maximum power, he'll literally just take over the windscreen. It's hilarious. Also, I forgot to mention earlier, but while we're on the topic of junk, every one junk collected will give the robot 5% more damage. Anyway, I feel like we got a little off topic from chests. Where was I? Oh yeah, rainbow chests. These have a very low chance of spawning, but when they do, they'll give 4 guns and 4 items of varying qualities. Now, this is cool and all, but what's even cooler is the brown bow chest. Sometimes rainbow chests will just disguise themselves as brown chests. It's comical.
My throat hurts.
But there is an even rarer chest you can get. Randomly on the first, obulette, and second chambers, you can get a glitch chest. It only has a 0.1% chance of spawning, so on a run considering you go to all 3 of those floors, you have a 0.6% chance of finding this thing, since it can only spawn in dedicated chest rooms. And what do you get for this immense amount of luck? A big fuck you, that's what you get. So you have to fight 2 buy holsters stacked on top of each other at once. And if you somehow manage to defeat them, you just get an entire treasure trove of loot. The most high-risk, high-reward thing in the Gungeon. Now, by a technicality, there is one final chest I haven't talked about yet, but we'll get to that thing. But for right now, let's cut to the boss of the Abbey. Something I didn't script, even if you don't have Curse, there is still a chance of jammed enemies to appear down here in the Abbey. Difficulty, yahoo. The Old King, who is kind of a parody of the Bullet King from Chamber 1, having the same boss arena and throne. Okay, well, their thrones are, like, technically slightly different. His has a cannon on top for one, but pretty much the same thrones. And I'm just going to say it, this is probably the hardest boss in the game. For one, he's one of the only bosses that can shoot out jammed bullets even if they aren't jammed, but also his attacks are just so goddamn oppressive. This should be a PSA on the King Bullet taking performance enhancing drugs because he's literally on steroids. I swear, put down your fork and spit out your dinner because you're gonna need full focus for this baby. Essentially just imagine every attack the King had and jumble them up, and unlike the Anaconda where it was a very difficult boss, but the health bar was low to compensate, this bastard's HP never drops. He has like 2 million billion quadrillion health, it's insane. I would go over his attacks, but you can probably get everything you need to just looking at it. But hey, if you manage to defeat him, you get some extra rewards that regular bosses don't drop, like a synergy chest and... Only come to the Downton Abbey of the True Gun if you're really looking for a challenge, otherwise skip it. Also, defeating the Old King unlocks the Bloodied Scarf item, which I already went over earlier, but if you need a refresher... Shit! But I'm not done with secret floors yet. We still got 3 more of those suckers to talk about, so be ready. So if you've killed a bunch of the Gungeoneers past, a new item will show up on the 2nd floor to take the place of the Prime Primer. That being the gnawed key at the low price of 999 casings, which is quite the pretty penny, so luckily you can lower the price of it gradually over multiple runs, eventually getting it down to a far cheaper 115. Now for such an expensive item, what does it actually do? Well, later on Chamber 3 in one of the rooms, you'll randomly find a bunch of rats running around, and somewhere in that room is a secret hatch. But the secret hatch isn't just out in the open. I mean, it's literally in the name, secret hatch. Since this game has no other form of interacting, you have to awkwardly run around in one spot until it reveals itself. Okay, so now you have to open the hatch with a regular key, not the special key you just bought, a regular key, ride on this minecart for what feels like 2 years, blank this random ass part of the wall, and then walk forward, blank another wall as well, then you need to go into this other room and unlock this hatch. This is stupid. Now, I can reasonably see someone figuring out that you need to walk around this random ass room full of rats in order to reveal a secret patch. Hell, while you were fighting the enemies in there, you might have accidentally revealed the hatch yourself. But how in the ever-loving was somebody going to figure out that you need to ride this minecart for like 12 minutes then have a blank at the end? And then he was gonna think to do that again. I mentioned this earlier, but now I'm starting to think about it more and more. I think this game's biggest problem is how cryptic these secrets are. I'll further add to my point later, but if you're somebody who's new at this game and you found the busted TV by chance, why the hell would you take it to the blacksmith? No way in hell you would carry it all the way up to the forge, then give it to the blacksmith by chance. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll save all this for later when it's more relevant. And what I mean by later, I mean in like 20 minutes. Anyway, I think I got a little off topic there, so let's jump down this hole that is uniquely rat-shaped. And unlike any other secret floor, you don't spawn into a big room this time. It's just this random-ass dark and musty one. That's because we're at Chamber 3.5. The Resourceful Rat's Lair. So every secret floor, including this one, and past this one, were all added in updates, so they wanted to get a bit more artsy-fartsy with how they did them. And that's evident from this one alone. It isn't laid out like any other chamber up to this point, instead being a big maze you have to navigate with no rhyme or reason on where to go. Or at least it seems that way. Quickly, rewind the tapes! This item is known as an infuriating note. It does nothing, and there's 6 of them for some reason. Remember the infuriating note? Well, those wastes of space actually have a purpose. Surprisingly. See, if you go to your Oimate cane and scroll all the way down your items, all of them will be listed individually. Now, this is actually one of the cryptic puzzles I think is actually very clever. At the bottom of each page is a little piece of cheese, with each piece of cheese pointing in a different direction. And those directions on the cheeses correspond to how you need to navigate this maze. This is both funny and very clever, so I like it. A little obscure, but I think it works in this case. Also, every time you enter the maze, the directions you need to go is always the same, so in my specific save file, it's up, down, right, down, down, right. Now you can't copy my homework, you little shriv, because what direction you have to go is randomized every playthrough. Luckily, my walnut-sized brain got a very simple one to memorize, so I don't have to. Do that every time. Anyway, each room you come across is completely randomized on what you can find inside. They're all the same circle, but what is inside the square is random. Maybe it'll be a bunch of spent with a gun reaper in the middle. Yes, that's its real name, I'm not making that up. Or maybe 2 lead maidens. I might have chairs to throw. Or even a room full of little Mecha Koopa looking guys that are exclusive to the Rat's Lair. But no matter what you do, as long as you follow the arrows on the infuriating notes, you will eventually make it. Where the game is actually nice enough to give you some health and ammo before walking into it, because I do not lie when I say this is probably the hardest boss in the game. I know I've said that like 5 times, but I mean it this time.
You have wedged yourself in here, but now you're trapped like a rat. You've been grating my nerves since you got here. But now you'll face me, the big cheese.
So predictably, since this is called the Resourceful Rat's Lair, the boss of the chamber is none other than the Big Cheese himself. Big Cheese, the Resourceful Rat. So the first phase is, oh my god, we just reached 200 pages. Lord, the things I do for this channel, holy shit. You know, a lot of YouTubers say the same old jargon of, I don't say this often, except for when I say it every video, but if you guys would please subscribe, that would be great. But I'm not even lying when I say, legitimately, I don't ask often. Like, in the entirety of my Just Cause retrospective, I said it like once as a gag in the entire hour and a half, which was just a compilation of 4 different videos. So I ask 1 in 4 videos, and I said it at the very end. I just feel like saying it every video is very annoying, and honestly, I just kind of don't like saying it, especially when I dwell on asking people to subscribe and completely move away from whatever topic I was just talking about. Anyway, the Resourceful Rat, so the first phase alone is already pretty difficult. He has this big wheel of cheese he can summon with 3 walls of randomly scattered bullets you have to dodge, and then 1 big break at the end with also random bullet patterns. He has a bunch of rat traps he can throw around that'll do something random when you step on them, like spreading poison or something, and this very unique one where he throws what I can only imagine are those little knives that ninjas put between their fingers in a lot of media, where in this instance it'll show the outline of where it'll go for a brief moment, and then he'll shoot out faster than somebody could react. Now this is already a pretty hard boss by itself.
But then we get to phase 2.
Where he comes in a fucking Metal Gear Rex. Yeah, this is where his difficulty really shines. He can summon a bunch of those little Mecha Koopa enemies to come attack you, a bunch of missiles that's really hard to avoid, an annoying reticle made of bullets that follows you and is constantly spinning, so you just need to walk in circles around it, which is honestly harder to dodge than the explosion that triggers where it was. And this thing where he brings in a Gungeon and does whatever this is. I am not exaggerating when I say this is one of the hardest attacks to dodge of any boss in the game. You can't even stay in these circles for too long, or he'll have a ring of bullets close in on you. It's obnoxious. obnoxious. But a good kind of obnoxious. He's one of those bosses where you just kind of scream the whole time upon your first attempt and then get absolutely slammed. He's hard as balls, but honestly, for an optional boss, I'm glad he is. Like, if this was a boss upon the regular route through the game, I would be a lot angrier about this, but a game having a side boss is 100% optional that's more difficult than passing a kidney stone has honestly been one of my favorite things that games do. Like the True Arenas from Kirby, Jevil from Deltarune, or the Smoky Prog from Pikmin 1. Anyway, now that we've blown up his stupid idiot mech, we can... Okay, seriously, how could you not love this game? Yeah, the final phase of the rat is literally just Punch-Out. What the hell is wrong with good-as-hell pixel art indie games and being obsessed with Punch-Out? Classic Punch-Out gameplay applies here. Left punches, right punches, dodging left and right, down, and blocking. Even star punches that you can hit him while he's flashing. Yeah, so this is literally just Punch-Out for the Wii. The first phase pretty much just consists of him taunting a bunch so players can adjust to the fact it went from a tough-as-nails bullet hell to a goddamn Punch-Out, and the second phase is where he really starts going, and you probably die, with more difficult attacks and timings. Like this one where he'll eat some cheese that'll heal him, but you can knock away if you time their punch just right. He even has his very own version of the Bald Bull Rush where he slings himself at you. And just like the Bald Bull Rush, you can either dodge it and hope he does something different soon, or when he flashes yellow at the last second, get a star punch up. Also, if you end the phase with a star punch, he'll drop an extra rat key. More on what that is in a minute. And the final phase is really something. He'll start doing these spins you need to perfectly block. He'll even pull out Casey of all things and whack you with it. This is one of the coolest bosses I think I've ever played in a video game. Don't stress this entire Punch-Out phase though. If he kicks your ass, which he probably will if this is your first time doing it, you actually don't lose any hearts or anything really. He just taunts you with a letter and screws off. But you are encouraged to make it as far as you can in this fight because the more you hit him, the more loot he drops. It just kind of falls out of him, which is hilarious. I like to imagine he just had all of this on him during the fight. Now, if you do manage to beat him, there is some unique stuff you get. Also, if you knock him out with a star punch, he just goes flying. I love it. Alright, Buster, what's your deal?
Pity me, for my story is a tragedy. I was born on the hold of a tradesman ship, where my mischief made our nest among the refuge. When the tradesmen changed routes, the food they previously hauled was replaced with weaponry. I watched my brothers and sisters starve, though I vowed to protect them, so I learned to steal from the captain's personal stores. It was sadly not enough. My efforts to feed them only prolonged their suffering. I couldn't steal enough. It became an obsession. I knew that the end was coming. Eventually, driven mad with hunger, my mischief turned on each other. The weakest went first, but soon the last of my kin were gone, eaten by their brethren. When the trader finally docked, I escaped his ship and found myself here. Trapped in time, I've clawed a home here from nothing. My own kingdom. But here I lie, cut down by a usurper with the pettiest of intent. Revenge? You do not know pain. I have one last thing to ask. Take off your mask so that I may see your face with my own eyes. Oh, that's actually your face. I realize now. It seems I never knew. True tragedy.
Yeah, I don't really care. Into the pit. Now, after that entire gauntlet, this is your prize. The Rat's Treasure Room, where you can help yourself to blanks, keys, ammo, whatever. And not to mention the rat chests. These are the unique chests exclusive to here that'll drop one of 4 things. Also, just quick aside, if you come here with a Mimic Tooth necklace, this random chest with googly eyes will explain how there was somehow a Mimic chest shortage. I don't know, something about the Union or something, but these are amongst the only chests in the game that cannot be Mimics. Except he's a lying bastard. Yeah, these can totally be mimics. He lied. I love this game. It's so goddamn charming. So anyway, the rat chests. These can exclusively carry one of 4 items in them. The resourceful sack, partially eaten cheese, rat boots, and the eliminator. Let's go down the list of what all these can do. So the resourceful sack, if you dodge roll over bullets, will allow you to put them in your pouch, then fire them back at enemies in the form of these little cheese things. And also you can hold like 4 active items, which is kind of nice. So yeah, like obviously S tier, but want to explain something while I'm here. Though the resourceful sack and the pilot's hidden compartment are a lot different in terms of usefulness, obviously the resourceful sack being way better, I'm still going to keep them in the same tier because one of them you can get at the start of the game, while the other one you have to defeat one of the hardest bosses in the game to get. I hope you can understand my reasoning because I'm contradicting myself right now. The partially eaten cheese will let you turn to dodge roll's very original creation, don't steal. Also, you can still shoot while you're like this. Also, you can run into enemies and they die instantly. Yeah, of course, obviously S tier. The rat boots, which Actually, these things kind of suck. If you walk over a pit while wearing them, you'll temporarily become invincible and also be able to walk over pits. That's about it. The main problem with these is, unlike every other rat weapon, these are by far the most situational. Plus, if your invincibility runs out while you're still over a pit, tough shit because you'll fall in. By the way, all of this stuff the partially eaten cheese can do, and way more. And yes, the rat boots are a passive, non-active, but still. These things really aren't great, C tier. And finally, the Eliminator. This has the special ability of being able to in-cheese your opponents, essentially just being freeze, but when they die, they spread cheese everywhere, being able to cheese other enemies. But it has one final trick up its sleeve. It has infinite ammo. S. Where else would it go? Yes, safe to say, the rat items are kind of good to say the least. Also, if you get all of them, you can be the rat. Okay, so that moves all of them down a solid tier because I don't want to be a stinky fucking rat. And the final thing of note, because I'll have no other opportunity to bring this up, if you kill him in the rat's sight, he won't steal any items for the rest of the run because... well, I don't think he can really move anymore. But there's some other things you can also use the rat keys on while we're here. I mean, we did get 6 of them after all, and we only used 4 of them. Well, there's actually a hidden room inside the rat's treasure room. All you have to do is blank inside the room with the chests and Viola hidden room to use the other 2 keys on. Or more realistically, use one of the keys because you can just throw the things you need through the second door. Lamau? Anyway, this is the serpent. If you feed it 3 items, it'll follow you. It doesn't count as an item, it doesn't help you, it's just there. But I mean, obviously you can do cool stuff with it, like, come on. They wouldn't just put something in the game for it to be a red herring, would they? I'll talk about this later when I get to it, but for right now, let's head to the final secret floor in the Hollow. So remember that one room where the cell creep was? It's just kind of by himself? Well, if you sell him 2 items or more and a master round, he'll actually sink back into his little grate here and make the way to a secret floor. No f***ing way would somebody find this naturally. How on earth would somebody find this? Usually you want to save master rounds because they give you more health. Why would you ever sell one? And furthermore, if somebody's selling a bunch of stuff and one of those things happens to be a master round, do you think they're going to piece together that the master round was the thing that made it open? Absolutely f***ing not. You're on thin ice, Buster. For 4.5, this floor kind of just works as what if we were inside Dodge Roll headquarters, featuring exclusive enemies that can appear nowhere else in the Gungeon, not even appearing in the Ammonomicon like Sombrero Shotgunkin or Tropical GGs, or Horizontal Nitras. Yeah, I can see why these guys were left here. Also, something I didn't script. Those Sombrero Bulletkin, those were actually scrapped enemies because there was originally going to be a western floor in the game. Gungeon 3, Sombrero Bulletkin, make it happen. Also corresponding with its name of the R&G department, this is the only floor in the entire game that isn't randomized. It'll be the same layout every single time you run through. On a side note, I'm running out of ways to say I like something. Yeah, there's not a ton for me to talk about on this floor except for this fucking music, man. Holy shit. This is one of my favorite themes in the game by far. I love this shit. And you know what? While I'm on the topic, let's talk about the music. So, all of the music in the game was actually produced by a rapper by the name of Dose One. And since I'm white, I don't know a lot about rappers, but I'll try. And I just want to say, it's really funny to me that they got a rapper to compose the game, because in development, they were actually considering making the game sound something closer to Zelda, but instead we got... Non-stop hammer, cock, violent mana shots, mana lock, keep cannon, hot cannon, I seize, granted, by peace, press, cannon, got peace, best, last man standing, gun speed, please. And that was probably a better decision to go in, because the music we have now suits the game a lot better. Here's a fun fact, this game actually got a limited time vinyl release for its soundtrack. Now, it was only a limited time, and it only included the songs that were already in the game, and all of the songs a part of it are also the same songs you can buy on the game soundtrack on Steam. Also, they're not selling it anymore. Also, if you want to buy it, you need to pay an inflated as hell prices on eBay. Only a fucking idiot would. Yeah, I bought it. You could take pretty much any... That was it?! I'm sitting here editing right now, in disbelief. I bought this thing. It was $100 that I paid for it, by the way. And I bought it. I was like, okay, I probably talked about it for like a minute in the video. I don't remember. That was less than a second. So allow me to talk about it for at least a minute. So this thing's actually pretty cool. You got a little pop-up book. It comes on 4 discs for some reason.
Okay, my mistake. It was 3 discs, but you still get the point.
Okay, this is nice, but why so many discs? The entirety of Deltarune's Chapter 1 soundtrack fit on 1. Why does this need 4? And hey, at least the art on these look cool, especially their little rock candy looking design. And it's also just kind of nice hearing it to the Gungeon music come through a vinyl radio. You could take pretty much any song from the soundtrack in isolation and it would probably sound really good, but if I'm being honest, the most of these songs just ended up blending together for me. Like, if you played two Sonic songs back to back, I could definitely identify if they were different songs or not, but if you played two different parts of an Enter the Gungeon song, the beginning and the end, and asked me if they were two different songs, I wouldn't be able to answer. I mean, this might also just be because when you're listening to these songs, you're not going to get a second to even pay attention to them because you'll more often than not be in a gunfight, but even listening to them in isolation outside of the game, they all just kind of blend together. They all just kind of sound the same to me. It's not bad, it's not great, and honestly, in a game like Gungeon, you're probably going to be giving 100% attention to not dying. I don't think really in-your-face music would suit the game greatly either. It just strikes this balance of being perfectly whatever. But hey, this final's pretty cool. But there are a few songs I do enjoy, and I'll bring them up when the time is right. And one of them, obviously, being the RNG department's theme. Anyway, I'll finish up talking about the RNG department now. This is by far the shortest floor in the entire game, probably. There's no shops, no chest rooms, really there's no reason not to head straight to the final boss. Hey, remember that one guy you fought before Cannon and the bullets passed? Okay, but what if we put him in a helicopter and got Cam Clark, the voice of Liquid Snake from Metal Gear Solid 2, to voice him? I'm dead ass.
I've been aiming for this.
This boss's pseudo gimmick is that he moves around like a ton. If you don't have a gun that has a lot of range or fast bullet speed, I am so sorry. I like how since a Gunham is still trained in the art of ammomancy, yes, that's what they call magic in this universe, he mixes up attacks from his helicopter and from himself. It's a good boss, I like it. Not a lot special, I can say. Looking past the fact they got the guy from those Monster High School movies in this, and then yeah, there's nothing too special. Alright, let's hop back to the forge so I can explain what that serpent from earlier did. So if you have the serpent following you around and go to fight the dragon again, that team-killing tard will actually join with the dragon and shoot bullets at you occasionally. So like, whatever, I guess. But when you get into its second phase, where you have to shoot at the heart, instead of just sitting there, it'll grab the baby serpent and fuse to it, becoming the enhanced dragon. Imagine the dragon, but on crack. The knives that she threw and got stuck in the walls that would just shoot machine gun pistols are now ninjas that throw the rat knives. Her machine pistols now do whatever the hell this is, along with new attacks like this one that spread rings around the arena, giving her the same attack that the Gorgon had, where it froze your weapons. I love this alternative final boss that is really only here to give players who wanted to up the ante and get a greater challenge, because I'm pretty sure you literally don't get anything for defeating the enhanced dragon. I think it's just there to be a neat thing and not much else. Well, that's the true final boss knocked out. If you're wondering why I'm back in the Aimless Void as the pilot, I forgot to mention earlier, beating the pass as a certain character unlocks a new skin for them. Like the bullet gets a bunny Link costume, the hunter gets a wolf pajamas, and the robot even gets a skin that's a reference to the flesh skeleton Terminator guy. And hey, the Marine gets a Dark Souls reference, neat. But if you then go back as one of the characters you already killed the past for, you can unlock an alternative starting weapon, which is what I'm doing. Oh shit! Welcome to the 6th chamber, the 10th chamber of the game, chamber 6. Remember how earlier I was talking about the forge was the true final test of endurance? Well, this knocks it out of the park. This entire place is a labyrinth. There are no shops, no shrines, no chest rooms, no nothing. This floor is a maze of endless waves of enemies. I died after I fell into a hole. We'll come back to bullet hell in a minute, but right now, since we're back at the breach anyway, we might as well talk about the side modes. Remember Tinker, that one guy who wanted us to fix the elevators from earlier? Well, if you fix all of them from chambers 2 to 5, that unlocks a side mode you can do in the elevator room. Oh yeah, I didn't mention it earlier, and I doubt I'll get another chance to, but using the elevators to different floors will spawn the rat right outside the elevator, who will give you some guns and varying qualities. Also, I know a lot of lore for this game, but does anybody actually know why the rat gives you weapons if you take the elevator? I don't know. I'll throw something right here on screen if I figure it out between writing this and making this. I didn't. Anyway, as I was saying, Tinker unlocks a side mode you can do, a boss rush. For the price of 3 hegemony credits, you can go on an all-expense-paid tour for every main chamber boss. There honestly isn't a lot for me to talk about because it's literally just a boss rush, but I think it's neat. But now for the actual side modes, the gameplay modifiers. These are all NPCs you need to free from cages in order to unlock them, so I'll just go in order from simplest to most complex for no coherent reason whatsoever. We have Tonic the Sled Dog, who will give you a turbo mode. Basically, it just makes the game faster, not a lot else. The Enchantress, for 6 hegemony credits, will bless your run. You know the gun game from COD? Well, that's basically what this is, but without any cohesion to it whatsoever. Your gun switches at random, and if you pick up a new gun, it'll just get lost to the void and never be seen again. I'm more different to this mode. On one hand, it's really annoying when you go to a chest and it's a gun because you just don't get anything. You basically just wasted a key. But on the other hand, it's pretty fun getting random guns every 20 seconds. Daisuke, God, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, for 3 hegemony credits will let you roll the bones. I have no clue why they're called that, but every time you you now enter a room, you'll have a random gameplay modifier such as hammer time, which will have a hammer drop down on you, don't blink, which makes every enemy jammed unless you're looking at them, or Gorgon's gaze, which will make one effect she does appear every 10 seconds-ish, along with a bunch of other ones I won't go over. And finally, Bowler, who strangely enough doesn't charge any credits for his, which is odd considering he's probably the best one. Any chest or item you find on the floor will now be taken away from you, but in exchange, at the start of each chamber, you get to pick from one of 8 weapons and items from this rainbow chest here. This might sound like a big drawback, but the items that the chest can give you can be so overpowered in run defining it more often than not helps you opposed to hinders. It's kind of weird to me that the 2 modes that make the game actually harder cost credits, but the one that helps you is free. It feels really weird, but hey, I'm not a game designer. Anyway, let's hop back to the Gungeon, but more specifically, Bullet Hell. As I was talking about earlier, this place serves as your final trial between you and the ultimate ending. There isn't a lot I can say about this floor except for good f***ing luck because you're going to need it. Everything that's here is just mutilated and brutalized versions of enemies you fought before. The Fallen Bulletkin will replace what was once lovable little idiots into demonic little gremlins with pitchforks. Also, the Ammonomicon said they don't like costume parties. That isn't relevant, but I thought I'd bring it up. The Shotgunkin, which are now Shot Grubs, which is weird that they call them this considering that there's also a gun called the Shot Grub, but it's whatever, I'm not going to needlessly argue this. But I could if you want me to, I'm perfectly happy to stall this longer. The Creech is barely even resembling a Shotgunkin anymore, with its slug hiding a bunch of demonic eyes that shoot bouncing projectiles. This floor feels like something a fan would make up, but in a good way. Even though that doesn't really feel like there should be any hidden things on this chamber, of course there is, what did you expect? So the Muncher is a thing that can be found on any chamber of the game, and feeding it 2 guns will spit out a random gun of around the same rarity. So if you give it 2 A-tier guns, it'll spit out an A-tier weapon. But specifically in Bullet Hell, there is a hidden room you can find scattered throughout it, and inside of that is the Evil Muncher. It requires 10 guns in order to give you something. Thankfully, these can be given to the Muncher over multiple playthroughs. But after giving it enough guns, it'll spit out the Gunslinger's ashes. Who the hell is that? More on that later! But right now, let's kick it to the boss of Chamber 6, the Lich. The Lich basically serves as our true final boss, on top of the true final boss we just had. He can shoot rings of bullets, shoot these waves, and even summon minions that are exclusive to this fight, being the tombstone-looking guys. But he goes down pretty easily, all things considered. But we're obviously not done yet. After a few seconds, the hand that dragged you down here in the first place bursts out of the ground and brings you into phase 2, where he's got a Bowser-esque Giga transformation into this big ol' skeleton boy. He can open up his chest doing one of 2 things, either doing these snake-like patterns of bullets, or these rings, slam his fists on the ground, ushering in a bunch of bullets from the right, and oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh fuck, oh god! And if you somehow manage to make it past that, you get the final phase. He throws L's at you. This phase is an absolute onslaught and is still easier than the rat somehow. I don't even know what you want me to say about this boss. Just look at some of his attacks. This is an absolute murder. You thought the old king was hard? You thought the rat was hard? Well, brother, you ain't seen nothing yet. Not only is the final phase just hard by itself, but the fact it comes at the end of this game's only 3-phased final boss is brutal. But through sheer perseverance, you can manage to defeat him. And if you do, instead of blasting yourself with the gun that can kill the past, you aim at him instead, and you get this final scene. Okay, I'm honestly not sure of the implications of this scene, but it looks cool. And if you know what this means...
Why the hell did you sit through this video? You already knew all this. What the f*** is wrong with you?
And with that, I'm pretty sure we've gone over everything. Well, almost everything, that is. There's unsurprisingly still a bit more to talk about. Of course, if this is Enter the Gungeon, through this entire video, there's probably one thing you've learned. I'm a lying bastard. So after you've beaten the past with a character, you can randomly find this puddle of space goop lying on the floor in a random room throughout the Gungeon. Interacting with it will... Interacting with it? Okay, I'm sorry, but there's literally nothing that indicates that I can interact with this thing. Usually when there's something you can interact with, it'll have this little white outline around it. A simple but effective way to communicate to the player that there is something interactable. How the f*** would somebody know what to do with this? This really just adds to the point I was trying to make earlier. This game can be far too cryptic at times. Like, Like stuff such as unlocking the bullet. Yeah, somebody could reasonably figure that one out. In fact, I actually did when I was younger. This game has what I would like to call Terraria syndrome. It's a label I throw at games when it feels like you need to have Wikipedia open at all times to figure stuff out. What you wouldn't think would be a problem because this game has a built-in Wikipedia of the Ammonomicon. But a lot of times the Ammonomicon descriptions are literally just nothing. Like, look at the description for the composite gun. The composite gun can either fire 2 very powerful shots or 1 big shot that has a blank effect tied to it. Obviously an incredible gun. But what does the Ammonomicon have to say about it? Jack shit. I mean, it and a lot of guns like it just have explanations like how they were brought to the Gungeon or how they were built in the Gungeon. But it also would have been very nice if they had a little description under it saying what it actually does. And the strange part about it is some guns do actually have that. Like the shotgun full of love. Deals damage and potentially charms enemies. That is exactly what it does. But then the Gilded Hydra just has some shit about the Bible or something. Which for some guns having a nonsense description wouldn't really matter because what they do is pretty basic. Like the bow, the classic bow will never go out of style. It's all it needs to say because it's just a bow. But other guns do need descriptions like the before mentioned Gilded Hydra. And sometimes I wish there was nonsense text, like with the plague pistol, fires poisonous rounds. Oh really? No shit, I couldn't gather that by the name of it being the fucking plague pistol. Look, I'm gonna end talking about this right now, but this game is far too cryptic for its own good. If there was a Gungeon 3, I would really like if there was a character named like Quizlet or something that could just give you tips and point you in the right direction for a lot of these things. Or better yet, why not in Gungeon 3 just make it to where like you find somebody down into like a very deep cave or something and they know everything about the Gungeon and that you can go ask them for advice or something.
I feel like we got a little off topic. What was I talking about?
Oh yeah, Terraria syndrome. So I was watching my friend play Gungeon one day and he came into the room that was of just a big pit and said, oh yeah, the joke room. And if I wasn't there to tell him that that room was important, would he have ever figured out that's literally essential to crafting the bullet? There's no random NPC to point you in the right direction. There's no hint to what that could be on the other side of that. There's nothing. This game just feels very bad at communicating to the player a lot of things. Like synergies. Synergies, I think they're cool. Synergies, I don't know what the f this does. Synergies, hold on, let me check the wiki. Okay, look, I've already made this point clear, so I'm just gonna stop drilling it into your head and just get back to what I was talking about like a minute ago. So if you go up and interact with this puddle of cosmic goop on the floor, you'll get covered in this weird purple shit. But now, if you go and beat the game covered in this shit, you'll unlock a new character, the Paradox. I mean, it makes sense a character would just be a weird jumble of other characters mixed together. I mean, like, why are the Gungeoneers still here? I thought they killed their past. Because if they left, this game would be very boring, but that's not here or there. The Paradox is probably the most oddball character we've talked about yet. So for starters, it costs 5 hegemony credits to even play as them, which is odd enough as it is. But this character's unique gimmick is that their entire inventory is random. They'll spawn with a random starting weapon from one of the 6 characters, and a random weapon and item of literally any rarity. You could get the t-shirt cannon, you could get Casey, anything. I like them. This is fun when I want to make my runs a mess. But there's the cool thing about the Paradox. They don't have a past. Not only does the character select area say this, but if you go up to the blacksmith, she'll just tell you to piss off. I also have no other time to bring this up, but there's actually a lot more dialogue to the blacksmith if you choose to talk to her again after receiving the bullet.
I was hired long ago to make guns for the ones who built this place. Powerful wizard, that one, and fascinated by firearms. But he needed a smith. He was always experimenting with them, infusing them with magic. Where others walked with a staff, he strode with a strap. I think he was worried that guns would make the magics of the old world obsolete. In a way, I guess he was right. Then the great bullet hit, and neither I or my sister ever saw him again. It wasn't too long before the others came to investigate what happened. They quickly realized that visiting this place was a permanent decision. Some people got out early when the planar lead was abundant, and before the gundead took hold of this place. The ones who got out spread the word, and the legend of the Gungeon was born. A second chance, right? Wrongs, riches, fame. 1,000 reasons to risk your life. Must have been a tempting proposition to those who heard the tale. Or at least to those who believed it. We still aren't sure why the bullet struck or where it came from. All I know for sure is it was that gun he was working on when it happened. My sister traded for new guns, new artifacts for him to study. She's able to get things from outside the Gungeon sometimes. And I had this forge, so I got to work. If I could undo anything, It would be to stop the bullet from ever being fired, and then I never step foot in here. But that's impossible, I think. Without the bullet, there would have never been the gun. For us who knew this place before, the power of the gun is hollow.
I say it's high time we finish this game, wouldn't you agree? So since the paradox has no past, your next immediate instinct would be going to bullet hell again. And this time, if you beat the Lich, instead of blasting him with the gun that can kill the past and the game just ending, the screen starts to glitch, and after what seems like the Gungeon fully ripping apart, we get this. This is the Gunslinger. Now, the Slinger isn't just what my boyfriend... Why the fuck did I write that? Now, the Slinger isn't just what my boyfriend calls me, but it is also our final unlockable character. Okay, well, technically you haven't unlocked him yet. You actually need to go and beat the game again, and if you quit now, you'll have to restart the process with the paradox, but you're literally playing with him, so I'm talking about him now. The Slinger's starting weapon is by far the best out of any starter weapon. The robot's right hand might have something to say about that, but in my opinion, this is the best one. It has the fastest rate of fire, good damage, and he's not called the Gunslinger for nothing because he literally throws the slinger at enemies when you reload. Now, I have talked this up pretty highly, but at the end of the day, it's just another starter, so probably like B tier. And his one and only item, the Lich's eye bullets. This will give any weapon he picks up all of their synergies. Yes! This item is so cracked, he literally takes 7 hegemony credits to even play as him. It's outrageous. Hey, what's up? I'm back. I know you forgot about me, but it's okay, because I also forgot about me. I figured I'd stop in and give you the entire Gungeon flowchart, since we're about to take on the first boss. So first up is Keep of the Overlord. For some unknowable reason, they made the first chamber required. So from here, you have the option to go to the Oimate. God, I really should have gotten like a table or something for this. And I dropped my pen. Or Gungeon proper. You can only go to the Oimate if you have 2 keys, which I didn't make a graphic for. And if you don't get them, shit, sucks to be you. Just go to Chamber 2. Now, from the Oimate, you're forced to go to Chamber 2, and if you happen to get the Old Knight's Crest from the Oimate, you can head to the Abbey of the True Gun. But if you didn't pick up the crest, or you got hit like a fool, just head to Chamber 3. Man, this wind is making it very easy to telegraph what's going on. Now, from Chamber 3, if you grab the Nod key, you can head down to the Rat's Den. But if you didn't, because you're a broke bitch, you just head over to the Hollow. So if you didn't have a key, didn't have 2 blanks, didn't have the Nod key, or got lost in the maze, or just didn't go here in the first place, you go here. Also from the Rat's Den, if you're feeling like it, you can just head to Chamber 5, because why not? Wait, do I even like put a required pin? Because I'm using like blue for not required, red for required. Should I even put that on the Hollow? Because like if you go to the Rat's Den, then the Hollow isn't required. There we go. Going back a little bit, if you go to the Hollow and you have a Master Round and 2 other random weapons, you can go to the R and G department, which then, of course, if jumping off the building, leads to the Forge. This looks... Also, if you got the Serpent from here, you can fight the Advanced Dragon, which literally gives you nothing. And from Chamber 5, you can do one of 3 things. Grab the gun that can kill the past and end the run. Didn't make a graphic for that, damn it. Grab the bullet that can kill the past and then do one of any character's past. Or be a cool guy and go to Chamber 6. Now, going here, fighting the Lich, killing the past, or doing anything else, oh god, a breeze. All roads lead to the 6th chamber. I put it under there. Gloom just fell. Now, no matter what you do, heading to Chamber 6, killing the past, or some other third thing, the game will end at this point. So kill the Lich, get the gun, or kill the past, doesn't matter, the game ends. If you're still new to the game and have some kind of mental disability, you could probably read this and follow it along. I just wanted to make this just so like new players had some kind of idea that like where to go and everything. I don't think this helped, but I mainly wanted to put everything here just so like it's all in order and just, you know, it's easier to explain all of this in 5 pages than it is over the course of like 2 hours. Also, this probably sticks in your brain pretty damn well. So, now playing as this temporarily unlocked version of the Gunslinger, if you beat the entire game over again, through the Keep of the Leadlord, Gungeon proper, the Black Powder Mines, the Hollow, and the Forge, going up to the blacksmith, triggers this.
I've never been happier to make one of these. Here's the bullet.
The character she was talking about earlier, the one who brought her and her sister to the Gungeon in the first place, the one who spearheaded everything, is you. The Gunslinger is the Lich. Taking the bullet that can kill the past and heading back to the Aimless Void to use the gun just sends you straight to bullet hell. This is where his past is. Who knows how many years in the past this could be. Regardless, you now have to navigate to the Lich for the second time. And for getting all the way there, you get to fight the glitched Lich. And might I just tell you, he's a bitch. Okay, well, he would be if I was playing as any other character but the Gunslinger. But I literally can't be playing as any other character but the Slinger, so whatever. It's a pretty good fight, especially considering since the f***ed up looking one is jammed. But through enough perseverance, you can defeat them, freeing himself from the terrible fate he was trapped in and blasting the Lich with the gun that can kill the past one last time. What do you get? An altered version of the scene from earlier, but this time, there is no Gungeon. No bullet strikes the front of it. No character falls from the sky into the water near it. This is most likely thousands of years into the past before anything even got a chance to happen. No more guns, no more gun that can kill the past, no more bullet, no more Gungeon. Him going back in time to kill his past was to destroy the Gungeon. It's over. Anyway, after this, you unlock him as a playable character. And with that, I'm pretty sure we've talked about nearly everything about Enter the Gungeon. I mean, obviously, there's still some stuff I didn't talk about, but honestly, I want you to go find them. Go out and pick up a copy of this game. It's a mere 15 bucks. I assure you, me making this video and you watching this point will not spoil your experience. In fact, with how cryptic as shit this game is, it might actually make it better. And it's very evident I've gotten more than $15 worth of enjoyment out of this one. Besides the cryptic stuff, there's little to no flaws I can actually think of. I mean, yeah, sometimes enemies are bullshit, and yeah, it's very, very hard, and yeah, the old king can suck my nut, but that doesn't matter at the end of the day. Looking at the big picture in the last 256 pages I've written, none of that stuff comes to mind. What comes to mind is one of the greatest games I've ever played. Dodge Roll did an absolutely stellar job for their second attempt. To think this game started from a pitch at a developer conference they weren't even scheduled to be at in the first place, in a goddamn parking lot of all things, is amazing to me. The fact this game even exists is a miracle, and Devolver obviously shared similar thoughts to me because they just weren't willing to let this thing die. I said I wasn't going over the updates that this game got earlier, but I thought I might as well bring them up. The Supply Drop update, the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons update, and the Farewell to Arms update all followed this game's release way back then. Now, I already went over all the content in these updates while I was talking about everything earlier, but it amazes me this game not only got DLC, but the fact it was all free, turning an already good game into a masterpiece. Okay, well, technically that's a lie. The game did get one piece of downloadable content, yeah, you had to pay for, and that's the microtransaction gun, coming in at literally 99 cents. All this thing does is just poke fun at microtransactions in video games. Also, I can literally feel the spite oozing off the pages as I read this description. Everybody involved in this production of the gun thought it was a bad idea, but the higher-ups made them build it anyway. Later, management shut down that gun factory for making a gun nobody liked, which is literally how they got fired from EA. I feel like I got a little sidetracked there, yada yada yada, the game's a masterpiece. By far one of my favorite roguelikes and one of my favorite games. But you know where this is going. This video isn't over yet, not by a mile, because Dodge Roll and Devolver alike saw they had something good on their hands and they were not willing to sit idly by as this game made bank. No, they made a sequel, Exit the Gungeon, and it was bad. So this was at the time where I was actively following Gungeon back when this released in 2019, and I'm just going to say it wasn't really the best first impressions of my first interaction with your game is me not being able to play it because it was Apple Arcade exclusive. Can't wait for Sonic Dream Team! So this is actually my first time playing Exit the Gungeon, which I did exclusively for this video because I wouldn't want to do it otherwise. It might have just assure you me talking about the sequels to Gungeon won't be nearly as in-depth as the regular one, as you probably could tell by this timestamp. I'll just start talking about the game and see how my thoughts unravel from there. So we get this little parodied version of the original intro, this time talking about how the Gungeon is collapsing because the Gungeoneers went back in time to fix their past, and in the process causing a paradox, and now everything's getting all funky. So everyone now must exit the Gungeon. So we fall down this little shaft here, and the Enchantress lady from the last game meets us saying she'll enchant our gun for free. And the most obvious thing sticking out about this game is the decision to go from top down to 2D. And if you're wondering why it took me so long to even touch this game, this is the reason why. A two-dimensional bullet hell could not be a bigger turnoff for me. But hey, maybe this actually works. The only way to find out is to talk to Sir Manual. And I'm kind of upset that his tutorial this time around takes like literally 2 years to complete. Like, he teaches you how to dodge bullets coming from the left, then above, then below. It did not need to take that long. That all could have been just one segment, but while we're here, I guess we'll talk about how the game controls. And I'm still a bit iffy on it. I mean, I have just started playing it, and I'll update later if it gets better. It didn't, but there are 2 different types of dodge roll buttons. 3 if you want to get particular about it. Hitting L initiates your regular kind of dodge roll, very similar to how it was last time. Hitting ZL, by the way, I play this on Switch, initiates a jump dodge roll, which will not only let you go to a different platform, but dodge roll at the same time. Holding down in ZL will let you fall through platforms, and hitting ZL again while in the middle of a jump will cause an air dash, like kind of Celeste style. And that kind of just destroys the simplicity of the dodge roll. I mean, there's only 2 things to take into account when dodge rolling last time. When and where. Do I try to go around the bullets by going to the left, or do I try to pass over them by going up? And then just timing it at the right moment. That was all that was required. But now I have to take like 4 different things into account. Which kind, which platform you're on, where, and when. Also falling through platforms. Is it better if I go down or up here? What about going directly towards or away from the enemy? What if just spamming the jump dodge roll because it gives you way too many iframes? It just overcomplicates it so much. But considering this is not only a 2D platformer but also a mobile game, I would say this is a pretty okay compromise. But it also leaves me questioning, why would they make it 2D in the first place? And you might respond to that because, oh, it's a mobile game. And I would respond to that with, why the fuck would you make it a bullet hell mobile game? NDK, maybe Dungeon Meets Gunner on the App Store would know. You know, I actually found this when I was doing research for this game, and it's honestly kind of heartwarming to see that Gungeon reached such popularity that it warranted being ripped off on the App Store. Anyway, now we're done with manual, we can finally exit the Gungeon, using some elevators Tinker made for us, which will essentially function as the chambers from the last game. And when it comes to elevator variety, I actually think all of them are pretty cool. The elevator rides only last like 4 minutes, then a boss, so they wanted to do different gimmicks this time instead of just having the floors increasing in difficulty and have the enemies be the gimmicks. Like this balloon ride, this one where you're on a minecart, they're all cool. Anyhow, this whole game just feels like they had the idea of Enter the Gungeon mobile game in mind with zero clue how to actually execute it. One of the ideas I guess they had was to free up some buttons, and since this was in fact made to be played on an iPad, to remove the complexity of switching guns. So no matter what you're doing, your weapon will always be blessed. Unless you do a thing they added in an update called Hello to Arms, or you can have a specific loadout, but that was added in an update, and I didn't find that till after scripting this, so I'm gonna keep talking. Your weapon will always be blessed, which makes a lot of sense to me because mobile game, but wasn't the hunter's whole reason to choose her having 2 guns, and one of them being really good to start out with? Now she just has some dumbass dog. What about the convict? I mean, she sucked already, but like now? She's even worse considering that active items are also gone. Active items being gone is weird. May you rest in peace, Laminate Configurum. This was all done in the attempt to just make the whole thing about firing and dodging. I would assume, but if that was your purpose, why the f give me 4 dodge buttons? So this whole mechanic of constantly switching guns was also something that turned me off from the game. And this one I'm honestly more different to. On one hand, it makes the game a lot simpler and easier to just mindlessly fire at enemies because mobile game, but on the other hand, it just kind of wrecks some guns. I mean, like the wind-up gun. Its whole gimmick was that, well, A, being a Futurama reference, but B, the first half of the clip would be a large, semi-powerful shots, and the latter half of the clip being weaker, smaller shots. But because guns auto-switch, they decided to make the mags for each gun smaller in capacity, and in doing so, guns like the wind-up gun lose their entire gimmick. Or the RC rocket, it now just homes in on people instead of being an RC rocket. Like, these aren't huge issues, but it just goes to show how short-sighted the whole 2D idea was. But I do have some positives though. Since this game changed directions, literally and figuratively, they went through the effort of giving every enemy a more simplistic design, and they all look really good. I'm honestly just impressed every enemy has new sprites. Legitimately more effort than I was expecting. Something else that really shows Dodge Roll's effort is the bosses. I'm a big fan of all of them, like Medusalier being a combination of the Gorgon and Fusilier. Also, is Fusilier, like, still alive? Is he okay in there?
Does he like it?
Or Eggnian, who is literally just a cat in the egg mobile. I love it. Also, the low priestess should be a Tumblr sexy man, someone get on that. But there is one boss I can't say I'm not disappointed by, and that's the final one, being the last dragon. So this is something I noticed back when I was looking at footage of this game before buying it, and I just want you to look at her attacks for a second, and let's compare them to the high dragon's attacks. And let's count how many of her attacks are just a goddamn circle. I'm sorry to say this for the 15th millionth time, but it just really shows how limiting 2D is for this type of genre. But after that, everyone hops in the pilot's ship and blasts away from there, and the Gungeon is remembered. So what are my thoughts on Exit the Gungeon? You might be surprised to hear me say this, but it's fun. And I mean, it's not gonna blow my socks off and suck my dick like Enter the Gungeon, but it's still good. Honestly, I feel like this game being on Switch is probably the best fit for it. I mean, hell, this game over menu gives me big Crossy Road and Pac-Man 256 vibes. So hey, why not? Put it on the console you can take with you. For a sequel to Enter the Gungeon, okay, I'm gonna go against my script for a second. I don't really, if I was given the choice between playing it this or Enter the Gungeon, I would choose Enter the Gungeon pretty much every time. But as a standalone, it's actually pretty good. If it was your only option on a console you could take with you, hey, look, it was. This game should have stayed on Apple Arcade, but for a mobile game, it's good as fuck. I mean, I wouldn't recommend playing a bullet hell on the same device you used to watch memes I found underneath my grandma's bed number 27, but yeah, it's quality. It's really nice to see that even with the restrictions of both a mobile game and a 2D bullet hell, Dodge Roll still manages to cook up something good. If you're expecting something better than ETG out of this, then I'm sorry, but as a little side thing that wraps up the main story, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Also, as a final thing, they literally reused the entire Enter the Gungeon soundtrack, except for the Enter the Gun theme, which they replaced with the Exit the Gun theme, which somehow slaps harder even though it's the same song.
Ratskin boots, Gungeon window, riddle, 1, 2, body and ball, elevator to roof, ammo wheeling, bass killing, gun shall shoot.
But after making two very successful games, Dodge Roll wasn't just content in sitting there and doing nothing. They would follow it up with something that would blow people away. You gotta be f***ing kidding me. So their idea, after making a game exclusive to Apple Arcade, not a ton of your fanbase could play, was to make a f***ing arcade cabinet. It's like they're trying to make sure as little people as possible are allowed to play their games, I swear. And that's exactly where I am, unfortunately. As shown by this little map that was posted by Enter the Gungeon's Twitter account after I wrote this, that there's only like 14 of these in existence in the US, and unless on the off chance I found $6,000 lying around, I don't think I'll be able to play this thing. The closest one to me is in North Carolina of all things, and I don't think I'll be able to make that trip for just one video. So, semi-anticlimactically, this is where my Gungeon? This is where my Gungeon journey comes to an end. So I flew to North Carolina. Yes, this is not a bit, this is not a cutaway, this is dead ass. I flew to a different state so I could play an arcade machine. My family hates me. But ignoring all the money I spent on chartering fees, how is House of the Gundead? You play as green hair and pronouns, and if you have a player 2, it's some random ass turtle guy. I didn't get footage of it, goddammit, but the general plot here is President Blackstash has been kidnapped by a bunch of Bulbonians and taken to the Gungeon. This is in line with absolutely nothing that was in the plot so far. We're off to a great start. So as you could guess by the footage, this is a light gun game, and its controls work shockingly well. You aim where you want to shoot, obviously, hitting any of the buttons on the side of the gun will blank and hitting the D-pad to switch weapons. But their best innovation to port Enter the Gungeon to a machine that controls with a literal gun is the dodge roll. When bullets are shot at you, bullseyes will appear on the screen, and if you shoot one, you'll dodge in that direction. They do leaps and bounds to mix up the dodge roll formula, such as putting fake ones you can't shoot, ones that need to be shot multiple times, or ones that need to be shot in sequence. If my controller wasn't slightly broken, this would probably feel great. Speaking of weapons, they added tons of new guns to this instead of just porting ones from Gungeon, like the Gatling Gull's minigun, that one gun that the Robocop uses, and a successor to the Colt 45 being the M16 below. Also one I've never seen online before, the Goozy. They really went all out for this one. All of them work differently too. Automatic, semi-automatic, bursts. This is Enter the Gungeon, but in an arcade, which that you kind of expect that from looking at this, but I was blown away by that. Let's go over the chambers and what you can actually find in them. We obviously have Chamber 1, Keep of the Lead Lord, Chamber 2, Gungeon proper, Chamber 3, Black Powder Mines, Chamber 4, the Forge because the Hollow, and Chamber 5, the Bulbonian ship. Unlike regular Gungeon, there's not too many decisions and unique rooms you can go into and make because on-rail shooter, but there are still some decisions you can make. To go to a different room, you have to shoot the door, but sometimes hidden in a room is Winchester and his shooting gallery. Also, I'm now just realizing this as I'm recording, but Winchester has been in more games than our protagonists. He's like the Velvet Room guy from Persona. I want to see this death battle. It's cool that he's here because he's literally the only NPC that could ever work given this game's playstyle. Shoot the targets, win a prize, same as always. Occasionally, you'll come into a fork in the road and have to make a choice between which rooms you want to go into next. Easy, medium, or hard, having better loot scaling with the difficulty. Speaking of the loot, this game heavily emphasizes giving you guns. I mean, you can get items like frost bullets, alpha bullets, and lichy trigger fingers, but a lot more gun focus in this one. That's probably because of the damn thing I'm holding right now. Let's go over enemies and bosses now, because why not? We have all the time in the world. I flew 2 hours for this, I'm milking it as much as I want. All of the enemies we've grown used to by now are here, and adapted very well. I mean, obviously some of the enemies from chambers that aren't here are gone, rest in peace Pupulon, and even a few that were in chambers that were here are gone. Like the lead maidens. I changed my mind, this game is a masterpiece. I mean, obviously you're not going to need all of them because this is in fact an arcade game, but the ones they do have are very well adapted to suit the arcade playstyle. They even made the gun nuts throw explosive barrels like Dig Dug. And for bosses, we have 5, no random ones like base Gungeon. We have the Gatling Gun for chamber 1, you have to shoot down his missiles as they come down, which I thought was really cool. The Bi holster for chamber 2, literally he was surprised by that. I really like how they adapted his laser attack where you have to hit 5 targets in a row to dodge it. It's very clever. The Mind Flayer from chamber 3, yeah, no real thoughts on this one, it's just kind of the Mind Flayer again. The High Priestess in the Forge for some goddamn reason. So you took a chamber 4 boss and put him in the 4th chamber, but made that 4th chamber the Forge? Griffin Aerotech, you're going to hell for this. I love the High Priestess here. It looks like he's getting down funky every time he attacks you. It's incredible. I'll get to the boss of chamber 5 in a second, but chamber 5. So this is the only unique chamber of the game, and it's the Bolbonian ship, where they're keeping Blackstash. And it's really nice. We have Bolbonians infesting regular gundead and even piloting mechs. This is a level of intelligence that's not really shown anywhere else for the Goo Boys. And all capped off with the boss of the chamber. You know what? How about you pull your own fucking weight for once? I've been waiting all of the boss names up to this point. You do it. Besides being terrifying, you can only shoot her when her mask is open, which is when her attacks will get more brutal, so stay on your toes. If your light gun actually works half the time, this is very fun. She's a very hard boss, but the arcade I went to doesn't require quarters. Instead, I just had to pay up front, so death wasn't a problem ever. And the day has been saved. We saved Blackstash and flew the ship out of there before blowing up the Gungeon. Yeah, I don't think this game is canon. Not only is Blackstash the president, but how does the Gungeon get destroyed by the main Gungeoneer at one point in time and then destroyed by somebody completely different in another? Give me 2 minutes, I'll talk about that, but right now, arcade game. It only took me like half an hour to get through both of my playthroughs, and it wasn't boring once. If one of these is near where you live, I would definitely recommend checking it out one day. Also, the one I flew to is specifically at the Stop Button Bar in North Carolina, and big thanks to them for letting us film in there. Also, I set the high score for the machine at that location, and none of you are allowed to take it from me. House of the Gundead is my second game on the list of just make a Gungeon 2 already. Really, they'll make a mobile game and an arcade game before they even think of Enter the Gungeon sequel. But knowing my luck, they're probably going to announce it like 2 milliseconds right after I drop this video. I doubt we'll be waiting much longer before the announcement anyways, I can smell it. But I have now beaten every single Enter the Gungeon game, so I can finally do this. Hey, what's up? It's a different day and we're doing this shit again. Hello there. I now have a complete timeline of the entirety of Enter the Gungeon. But before we begin, I'm just gonna put House of the Gundead like right here. It doesn't make any sense with anything else that's happened, so I'm just gonna throw it right there in the top right. So first off, at the very beginning of our timeline, we have the creation of the Gungeon and the Gunslinger. I should really just, you know what, and the Gunslinger. The Gunslinger came to the Gungeon at what was at the time just a regular temple to work on combining magic and guns, fearing that the magic of the old ways would become obsolete, with his final creation being the gun that can kill the past, with the bullet being forged by the blacksmith. The reason it was his last creation was because after this, the great bullet hit, which I didn't make a graphic for, damn, and he was never seen again. It was never answered how far back in the past this was, so I'm just gonna put it way back over here. But what we do have a time period for is the Hunter's Past, coming 1,000 and something years ago before the Gungeon events. The events of, this, whatever's gonna go over here. She invaded Dr. Wolfenclaw's fortress trying to thwart his evil plans, but unfortunately was put on cryo sleep for about 1,000 something years. I don't remember the number, okay? I'm very tired. What I think might be the next past is the bullets, but they never really say when it happened, so I'm just gonna put it after the Hunters, but these could theoretically be interchangeable. Theoretically, yeah, it's good. I add an extra syllable so you know I'm being serious. Anyways, Evil Lord Canon and his disciple Gunum are trying to take over the Gungeon and enslave all of the gundead, which the bullet isn't having any of, but he dies anyways, lol. Well, he didn't really die, but he kind of just lost the fight because he's still alive at the time period of the Gungeon, so... yeah. And Lord Canon now rules the Gungeon at this point. That is important. The only thing we know that he did with his rule was dethrone the old king, who then left to the Abbey to just rule that place. Because judging by the bullets passed, how there are 2 thrones, we can guess that the king bullet and the old king both ruled together, but then that obviously changed when they banished the old king down to the Abbey. Now, there was one thing opposing Canon, and that was the Lich, who was basically Gungeon Jesus. Now, you already know who the Lich is, so I'm not going to dwell on it. It's him. Unfortunately, Canon's reign would soon come to an end after the Lich and him got into a shootout, resulting in Canon dying and Aghanim getting banished down to the RNG department. Now, I'm not sure about this next part, so it was either the Shadow Magician banished him down there, or a Gunum is psychically controlling the Shadow Magician so he can still rule in the Gungeon. It's really unclear about that, so it doesn't really matter, actually. So who really cares? Now we flash forward to 117 years before the events of the Gungeon, for the robots pass. By the way, I haven't done the string yet. I'm just gonna do that at the end because it was a fucking mess last time. The robot army was trying to kill all of humanity for some unknown reason, and the robot, instead of going with his programming and killing Sarah Connor, decided to go against it and teamed up with the humans to save everybody. Jumping way forward into the future past, it's the creation of the hegemony. Didn't make a paper for that either. I had to get rid of my color printer. This is all I have. And the hegemony started exploring the Gungeon. Also, it's possible that they were created before the robot, but I'm just going to put it after the robot. I don't really have a good reason for that. Okay, so this next one's not really related to anything, but I just thought it was so funny, I had to bring it up. So the hegemony started to try invading the Gungeon, seeing if they could find anything cool down there, and they brought things with them like hegemony rifles and stuff like that, so that's how you can find that stuff down there. Well, they also brought the Treadnought with them, which they left after they had to flee because of that, so that's why the Treadnought's down there. Their solution to priestess, walls of living matter, it's squid octopus monster thing, and the buy holster was a goddamn tank. Alright, next up we got the pilot. Not really sure where this takes place, but the game won't tell me, so I'm going to tell you, and say it goes here. The pilot and his wingman are mining some materials on hegemony turf until womp womp law enforcement, and the pilot flees, leaving his best friend to either get captured or die. Probably die if he's willing to go through the entire Gungeon to get him back. Next up is the convict, so I'm pretty sure it was before the pilot's way earlier, but shut up, I'm assembling the script by the string of my teeth. So the convict, or Laser Lily, had a deal with the H-Mon for something or other, but got double-crossed by Blackstash and taken it as an example. And something cool that was explained in the Ammonomicon description of the budget revolver, she was sent into the Gungeon to go fix her past mistakes by them. That's why she's wearing a jumpsuit the whole time. It's either she gets the gun that can kill the past and fixes her mistakes, or dies trying. Either way, it's not their tax money. And lastly is the Marine's past from 12 years ago. The scientists on board the hegemony ship he was on oopsie-doopsie accidentally summoned a demon. The Marine, using the excuse that his gun was jammed and really not wanting to fight a demon today, hightailed it to an escape pod and left everybody to die. Also, the final thing I didn't make a graphic for, I don't know when the rat got into the Gungeon, but it's probably somewhere like 20 years prior to the events of everything, because I refuse to believe he's older than 40. And I'm like 86% sure I got everything that happens before the Gungeon. Okay, mainly everything that was relevant. I didn't talk about Thunderbolt or any of the wacky Gungeoneers of the past, but just mainly the things that were relevant to everything. And you already watched me talk about everything after the entrance. So I'll try to be quick for this next part. All of them get the gun that can kill the past and would fix the robot and save the bullet in the process. The convict went back and killed Blackstash. The Marine swallowed his pride and his newfound skills to beat the extra-dimensional horror. The pilot saved Z and destroyed the flagship. The robot went back and killed all of humanity, hooray. The bullet went back and liberated the Gungeon from Cannon, and the hunter went back and stopped herself from being captured using a blank. But unfortunately, everybody winds back up at the Gungeon because killing all of humanity 117 years prior, but still having them still exist, doesn't really sit well for everything. And bobbity boop, a paradox was created. Then the paradox manifests in a humanoid form and then goes through the Gungeon, getting to bullet hell, which then creates the gunslinger to come back somehow, who then shoots himself with the bullet that can kill the past, who then has to fight himself along with a ghost version of himself in bullet hell, bringing us all the way back here. Right, the great bullet never strikes and everything is hunky-dory. Now, all of that concentrated energy and force kind of, tear the Gungeon apart. So we now have a split timeline of exit the Gungeon happening here, but also here, taking us back to here. Now everybody needs to exit the Gungeon, where the next game in the timeline starts, vacate the premises. Everybody makes it up to the roof, slays the final dragon, and escapes in the pilot's ship. I'm not even gonna put the string on this, because you can kind of tell. And that is it. That is the entire Gungeon timeline. Thank you. Well, I guess this is it. I suppose this is the end of the Gungeon? And would you believe me if I told you I didn't even talk about everything? The Mimic Gun, Beast Manual, how about the special Red Muncher? Wait, I talked about that. If I talked about literally everything, this video could easily have another 10 minutes to it, but I suppose it is now time to fulfill an obligation. I said I was going to do it earlier. I'm going to rank every gun and enter the Gungeon. Alright, let's get some notes out of the way. I'm doing this in Ammonomicon order, I'm not including synergies into this, and I'm not re-ranking guns I already went over. Let's start off with, god damn it. Okay, I still have no way to test co-op. From what little I did play, it was just okay. Dark Gun goes in D. 38 Special. I don't understand this name. It's not special, and it's about 30 years off, give or take, from being 38. C tier. Duringer. So it mentioned in the Ammonomicon entry for the Klob that that gun might be the worst weapon in the Gungeon, but I would like to offer that the Duringer is, because holy shit, this thing sucks. It can store 2 bullets in 1 mag, which is pitifully small, and doesn't even make up for that with damage output. I would rather have the t-shirt cannon, F tier, trank gun. Despite what you may think, it's just an ordinary pistol. Despite that, it's actually not bad. The only thing is holding this down is its very small ammo capacity and bullet speed, but it does pretty decent damage. Could be useful against bosses in a pinch. C tier. Unfinished gun. Well, if it isn't the punchline of the Gungeon. But allow me to defend this one for a second. It's actually not as bad as you would think. It's still horrible, but like, it's not as bad as you would expect, and definitely is not as bad as the Duringer. Yeah, it's still F tier though. Bullet. It's a bullet that shoots guns. I love this game. A good strategy is to stand far away from your opponent so the bullets that come out of the guns that shoot the bullet shoots can deal a little bit of damage. Not bad, B tier. Shell.
It is even funnier the second time.
Sorry if I sound different now, by the way. I was trying recording with my desk being stood up. It's a shell that shoots shotguns. I love this game. Instead of bullets flying out of the guns while they're being shot, they'll only shoot out when hitting a wall or an enemy. Despite that limitation, it's actually way better than the bullet was. It's even funnier the second time. A tier. Hyper Light Blaster. This gun has only 12 ammo in total, which sounds bad on the surface, but the gun is actually very self-sustaining. Every shot you land will put that bullet back in the chamber, but if you miss a shot, it won't come back. So it's a gun that can, if you're good enough, never run out of ammo. And also does wreck loads of damage. Yeah, that's a plus right there. The only thing keeping it down from S is its very high skill ceiling. And if you think that's not fair, a reminder that an instant kill infinite ammo baseball bat is also in that tier. A plus. Boxing Glove. It's a game of Punch-Out in the middle of a shootout. Basic Punch-Out rules apply, except for instead of hitting an enemy when they're yellow to get a star punch, you'll just kill an enemy to get one. Get 3 and you can do a shit ton of damage. Like a quarter of the boss's health bar amount of damage. Basically just one tap kill for most enemies. But the only problems are, 1, this thing's hitbox is f***ing broken, like I'm 2 miles away from him and he gets hit. And 2, you need to get near enemies to use it, but unlike KC, another melee weapon, it doesn't obliterate anything in its path, so C tier. Okay, we got a string of 5 basic ass guns coming up, so we're doing a lightning round. Makarov. Imagine the tranquilizer gun, but if it did no damage and its clip size was horrible, D tier. M1911, it's not good, it's not bad, it's whatever, C tier. Magnum does great damage and has a good fire rate with acceptable ammo capacity, A tier. Colt 1851, great gun right here, a very high ammo capacity with good damage. Unfortunately, every gun in A I would rather have instead of this, so B. And finally, the Saw. This is a good ass gun right here. The shots bounce and do decent damage, but if you bounce them off a wall first, the damage becomes insane. Look as it casually shreds through the Gatling gun, A plus. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Oh, I got it!
What if we made a pistol that freezes? Horrible. What if it also did pretty good damage? Die. What if we made it a bitch to unlock? Bingo! The Colt 45 is a pistol that freezes, does pretty good damage, and is a bitch to unlock. So this and the mutation we'll talk about way later need to be unlocked by feeding the muncher specific weapons. For example, to unlock the mutation, it needs to be fed one of the weapons that are attached to your hand, like the Mega Hand or Flame Hand, combined with a weapon that's kind of gross, like the Plunger or something like that. Something this game is cryptic B tier. Polaris. Once a show on Disney XD, now gun. After a certain amount of kills, it'll upgrade to a second and third level, doing increasing damage with every upgrade. But if you get hit, it'll go back down to the last level you were on. This thing is an absolute monster when it gets to level 3. Very high skill ceiling, but phenomenal gun. A+. Jolter. This thing does absolutely ludicrous damage. Not like Magnum levels, but way more than you'd be expecting from a gun that looks like this. Aside from that, though, it's just okay. Its accuracy is horrible. It doesn't have a very large ammo capacity, but maybe you could use it as a boss killer if you want. Only if you have nothing else, though. C tier. Gungeon Eagle. You can either shoot less powerful bullets or charge for big powerful bullets. I'm very quickly running out of ways to say I like things. B tier. Grey Mauser. This does a shit ton of damage and fires very fast, but man, this thing's ammo capacity is bad. I ran out of ammo like twice in the first chamber getting footage of this thing. Dear God. Aside from that, reloading on an empty clip turns the player invincible, which is always good. A tier. Vorpal Gun. Really good if you're really lucky. Really bad if you're not lucky. Has 5 shots in a mag, and each shot doesn't do that much damage, which sounds bad, but every shot fired has a small chance to critical hit, doing loads of damage. So get lucky, I guess. C tier. High Caliber. Allow me to directly quote the Ammonomicon of this one. Causes enemy souls to leave their bodies. These developers took crack. Anyway, once a soul has left the enemy's body, touching the soul does a ton of damage. Like, one shot combined with touching their soul is enough to kill a gun nut. And the shots without touching the soul do a lot of damage too, just by themselves. The one drawback is that you have to touch the souls if you want to do all that damage, which can be hard to go out of your way and do. A+ tier regardless. Shellagun does really good damage, but then switches to a more useless beam mode after running out of an ammo in a clip. It's whatever, good if your curse is high and just want one more without tipping it over the edge. B tier. Dueling Pistol. F tier. AU gun. The gun that prompts the oh f yeah reaction. Has very low ammo capacity, but absolutely chews through bosses. Not great at much else though. Nevertheless, A+. Big Iron. Horrible speed, but amazing damage. Good for those bosses that are very wide, like the Treadnought or the Wallmonger. Also not bad for clearing rooms either. Also an A+. Composite gun. Now this
is a fucking gun right here.
It'll either fire 2 high damaging rounds or 1 giant round, which does a ton of damage and also sets off a blank. This thing is completely busted. So far, in fact, it's how my BF
best friend
beat the game for the first time. And if that isn't a testament to anything, then I don't know what it is. S tier. Flare gun. The most perfect whatever weapon. It shoots flares, catches people on fire, and is underwhelming. D tier. Smiley's revolver. It's a pretty basic gun with whatever stats but lower shop prices, so B tier. Shade's revolver. It's a pretty basic gun with okay stats, but it buffs coolness by 3, so hell yeah, A tier. Knight's gun. Cool Shovel Knight reference, but not only that, it makes for a good ass gun. 1, the damage it does is outrageous, and 2, every time you reload on an empty mag, it'll dig up a random thing. Think like Peach's turnip pole from Smash Brothers. Or like the dog, but on command. It can range from nothing to a single casing, to a blank, to grenades for free. Easy S. Gunner. A pretty mediocre gun by most standards, but it's saved by the fact upon getting hit, it'll drain 40 ammo, and a skull will shoot out of you. Touching the skull will give you that 1 health point back. So if you play your cards right and keep refilling your ammo, you can basically become immortal. Excluding that, it's pretty whatever. A tier. Regular shotgun. It is in fact a regular shotgun. B tier. Big shotgun. It is in fact a big shotgun. Jokey aside, this weapon is actually very good. Not only can it dish out oodles of damage, but also reloading it near a shotgun kin will cannibalize it, giving you some ammo back. A+. Old Goldie. The regular shotgun, but busted as f. Look at this, it saws through a chest in 1 blast. Its damage is insane. The only drawback is small mag size and reload time, but besides that, great. A+ tier. Winchester. It's like the regular shotgun, but relatively busted. Everything the old Goldie did, but in reverse. Good clip and reload time, but whatever and everything else. A tier. Rattler. The unholy combination of a snake and a shotgun. It's a fine enough gun, but man, it feels bad to use. Having 1 shot hit the opponent immediately and then a bunch of other bullets lag behind just feels gross to use. I'm not sure if that's enough to put it in C like I want to, but it's my list, so bleep bloop C. Bubble Blaster. It'll shoot out short-range bursts of bubbles that do high damage, but the problem is connecting the bubbles to your opponent. Reloading the Bubble Blaster will cause it to burp, shooting the bubbles at the opponent's direction that you're standing. This is a cool concept, but I don't think it's executed very well, mainly because if you're playing this game on a controller, it's a bitch to use. I can imagine this working better on mouse and keyboard, but just imagine this scenario. You're trying to dodge bullets while shooting your weapon and aiming it. Left thumb on the left joystick, right thumb on the right joystick, and index finger on the right trigger. All is right in the world. But to use this gun effectively, you need to take your right thumb off of the stick and reload it. And if you're trying to move around with your left stick while you're doing that, you'll face the opposite direction, sending the bubbles all over the place, doing nothing. Cool idea, bad execution, D tier. Elephant gun, it's like the old Goldie but bad. 2 shots, massive reload time, does less damage than the Goldie, D tier. Tangler, far better than I was expecting it to be. Bounces off walls, has a good mag size, does good damage, and makes all the enemies look disgusting. What more can I ask for? A+. Void shotgun, it's like the Tangler but not as good, mainly because it doesn't make the enemies look up. Bigger mag but slightly less damage and doesn't bounce off walls, still A tier. Mass shotgun, look at this thing's damage against the Gatling gun. Jesus H. Christ. The only drawback is if you're not standing far enough away, it won't deal as much damage, but even so, this thing is a hot tamale of a weapon. S tier, baby. Shotgun full of hate. Does big boy damage and poisons opponents. Lots of ammo and not as good as the shotgun full of love. A+ tier. Shotgun full of love. Does big boy damage and charms opponents. Slightly less ammo and not as good as the shotgun full of hate. A+ tier. Shot grub. A shotgun, but grub. And much like grubs in real life, I don't really like this thing. It makes you wait like 2 years between shots. It's outrageous. And it doesn't even do enough damage to compensate for that. D tier. Gilded Hydra. Only fires 1 shot with a stupendous reload time, but every time you get hit, it'll increase the mag size. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this one. The idea that you have to get hit to actually make this gun somewhat good is something that's not really appealing to me, but I feel like you can make a fun gimmick build with this one in a clone run or something, so I'll put it into A tier. Blunderbuss. F. Pulse Cannon. It's not just a cool Predator reference, it's also a pretty sweet gun. Pretty balanced, all around A tier. Siren, yet another whatever shotgun. So instead, I'm going to talk about the episode of Adventure Time I'm currently watching while scripting this. So Finn defeats a dragon, saving a bunch of candy people, then... Actually, I just realized this video might get demonetized if I showed Adventure Time footage. I'm just gonna put this weapon in B tier and get back on track. Zilla shotgun. You can either shoot 4 lesser damaging shots, or 1 big boy shot. The little shots are quite bad, but the big one's quite nice. Enough to put this in A tier itself. Icebreaker. 2-shot ice balls, 1-shot hard lead. Just how I like my coffee. If you land all of the shots, it'll actually just instantly freeze someone, and then the final shot does stupid damage. A tier. Membrane, poison shotgun. It's a shotgun that fires poison balls. Did you know I have to rank another 181 of these things? B tier. Huntsman. Hey, here's a fun fact. Did you know that every weapon in this game that Gundead uses also has to be usable by the player in some way? Well, technically not every gun, but every gun they use has to be usable by the player, or won't function for some reason. So some of them are still in the files, but just unattainable by regular means. Well, one of those guns that are attainable is the Huntsman, used by the Executioner guys. Reloading it snuffs out bullets and gives you 1 point of curse. Way better than I remember it being before starting this. A tier. Blooper does insane damage and knockback, but stupid low ammo and mag size, which wouldn't be a problem if its reload didn't take 12 years. B. Okay, we have a bunch of bows coming up next, and the bows in a game that is mainly focused on guns is unsurprisingly very boring, so we're doing another lightning round. Bow pierces enemies and takes 3 years to charge. D tier. Charmed bow doesn't pierce enemies and charms opponents. Wow, saw that coming. C tier. Sticky crossbow shoots low damaging arrows, but upon reloading will make them all explode. A tier. Shot bow. It's a shotgun bow. Does piss damage and fires as slow as molasses. D tier. Triple crossbow alternates between shooting 3 arrows at once and slowing shots. That makes opponents slower. Not nearly as good as it sounds. C tier. Crescent bow shoots little stars or charge up for big boy stars. Actually really f***ing good. A+. And finally gunbow. Charge it up and... A+. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled ranks. Clobe. This gun has a reputation. Originally from GoldenEye, is what is considered to be the worst gun in the game by the developers. And my thoughts is that it is still better than the Duringer. F. Machine pistol. It is a machine pistol. Like, actually, genuinely, what do you want me to say? Look at it. It is exactly how it sounds. C tier. Thompson submachine gun. Mod the Gungeon was being fussy and refused to spawn this for me, so you know what? It's getting thrown in C tier. I don't care. Strife gun. Fires nails and upon releasing the trigger explodes. Does really good damage and feels cool. A tier. A key 47. Does pretty good damage with a low magazine size, but the thing is it unlocks all chests for free. Yeah, okay, S tier. Stone dome. One of 2 guns in the entire game that inflicts fear status effect. While shooting, if close enough to enemies, they'll start to run away from you. Not very useful, but also very useful. And does cool damage or whatever. A tier. Crown of guns. Fires bullets everywhere. Each bullet does a lot of damage, but good luck hitting anybody. Obviously a joke weapon, but it's only cool if you have battery bullets or anything that increases accuracy. It'll only fire to one side, so if you're a robot, it's actually quite good. but still C tier. M16 alternates between really strong bullets and grenades, unsurprisingly A+ tier, very good. Combined rifle alternates between really strong bullets and a piercing cosmic ball thingy, A+ as well. Zorgun shoots bullets that do okay amounts of damage with minor or massive tracking and a special Kinder Joy surprise at the end, usually just some kind of explosive, A tier. The Fat Line, instead of shooting bullets, it summons them to the gun from all around the room, hitting enemies that get caught in the crossfire, so it could do wacky shit like hitting enemies that aren't even on screen and go through walls. It's great. Combo that with doing incredible damage, I think we have an A+ on our hands. Mr. Acceleration Jr. shoots replica planets at enemies. If you hit a wall, they'll start orbiting around you, and each of them have different effects on them. On an unrelated note, I'm now starting to realize how fucking hard ranking this many of anything is. Retromation, my hat is off to you, B tier. Vertebrake 47 fires frightening ghosts at the gathering of gundead within the Gungeon, and its shots precisely pierce any probable perilous fiend, A tier. Balloon gun shoots tornadoes. Wait, I ranked this. Mag 10, it's an SMG.
When will my suffering end?
C tier. Triple gun starts out as a puny wee baby pistol, then morphs into a really good machine pistol, and then into a fucking laser cannon. This thing is superb. Bordering on S tier, but I'll put it down in A+ because everything up there could probably kill a Greek god of some kind, A+. Heck Blaster shoots wee little tiny idiot insignificant stupid bullets at enemies with okay damage, but can apparently also reverse jammed enemies back into regular ones, which can be definitely come in handy. Didn't get footage of that, but it sounds cool. I put it in B tier, but I'm gonna retroactively put it in A because if you're on a high curse run, you can just unjam a boss. A tier. Patriot. The longer you hold the fire button, the faster it'll shoot. This is especially good against bosses because the one thing I can even hold against it is that its ammo capacity is a little small for how fast it can fire, but everything else it does makes up for it. A+ tier. AC-15. A pretty so-so and whatever blaster, but if you pick up armor, this turns into a menace that can one-shot most enemies. But that is relying on you having armor, so if you're the robot, this thing could practically make an entire run. A tier. Vulcan Cannon. S tier. Plague Pistol. A pistol that influx poison. It is in fact a plague pistol. C tier. Gungeon. So remember the Patriot? This makes the Patriot look like a f***ing joke. It does more damage than it, has more ammo than it, and it increases your movement speed. It also makes you immune to fire while holding it. This does it all and then some. S tier. The Predator. It's not just a cool alien reference, but it's also a pretty sweet gun. It'll fire homing, high damaging projectiles, and when you reload it on an empty clip, it makes you go invisible. Because this is a RoboCop reference. The only downside is it fires very slowly. A tier. Dragonfire. A+. Okay, so we have some sniper rifles and sniper rifle adjacent guns coming up, so it's time for another lightning round. Sniper rifle. It's exactly what it sounds like. A tier. AWP. It's the sniper rifle, but slightly better damage and slightly worse magazine. A tier. M1. It's like the sniper rifle, but slightly less damage and bigger magazine size. A tier. Winchester rifle. It's like the sniper rifle, but it f***ing sucks shit. D tier. Corsair. This barely even counts as a sniper. It'll bounce off walls and do pretty minimal damage, but it does track opponents pretty good. C tier. Railgun fires fun bouncy projectiles that do big boy damage. A+. Railgun prototype fires boring projectiles that don't bounce and don't pierce, but still do damage. A tier. Now that obviously connected theme is over, back to the regular rankings. Void Marshal. A pistol that shoots laser projectiles with good damage. It's alright, what more can I say? B tier. Deckard. A pistol that shoots explosive projectiles with good damage. It's alright, what more can I say? B tier. The Judge. An average pistol, but at the end of a magazine, you get a wonderful surprise. It's just one of like 6 different effects that can trigger. It's not that special. C tier. Morning Star. Do you remember the glassing beam from Halo? Yeah, it does that. The only drawback is that you have to focus on an enemy for a second for the laser to actually come down, which can be an issue if you're frantically trying to dodge bullets. Still, A+. Alien Sidearm. Pretty basic pistol that you can charge up and shoot out a bigger version of its regular bullets. It annoys me that it's not full auto. C tier. Rube Adine Prototype. Shoots bouncing projectiles that do okay damage, but its worst flaw is that it has like barely any ammo. D tier. Rube Adine Mark II. Like the Rube Adine Prototype, but good. I don't know why these are both in the game, but it's really funny to me that they are. B tier. Rubenstein's Monster. Okay, this gun confuses me like a lot. If you require the Rube prototype and the Rube Mark II, this will be created. No, this is not a synergy. This is its own gun. It can be dropped. It has its own Ammonomicon entry. This is its own thing that can only be created when having 2 other guns, which is weird because a different gun known as the lowercase r has a synergy with the rocket bullets that turns it into a rocket launcher with a different sprite, animations, and voice line. So why isn't that its own gun, but this is? If we ignore how hard this thing is to acquire in a regular run, this thing is a fucking beast. beast, easy S. Chamber gun. This thing is kind of hard to rank, honestly. Debatably harder than the items I deliberately didn't rank. Every chamber, this weapon will change. So in the first chamber, it's a semi-automatic. On the Abbey of the True Gun, it shoots arrows. On the Black Powder Mine, it's a useless f***ing drill. You get the gist. I'm going to put this in B tier because its rank literally fluctuates. Gunder Fury. Mod the Gungeon refused to spawn this one for me, so you know what? F it, I'm not doing it. Do it yourself, you lazy bitch. Mine Cutter. Every time you reload it, it switches from slicing shots that pierce enemies to solid shots that don't. It's pretty cool or whatever. A tier. Void Core Assault Rifle. Lasers go pew pew and enemy go big hurt and die. B tier. Flash Ray. Lasers go pew pew but enemy never f***ing die because this shit sucks balls. D tier. Wind Up Gun. I already talked about this earlier, but I'm just going to refresh everybody. The first half of the magazine fires pretty good damage plasma shots, but the second half does whatever shots. Also, it plays Pop Goes the Weasel every time you reload it, but I can't play that for you because I was watching regular show while recording this. Yeah, I finished Adventure Time earlier. C tier. Hammer. Does really good damage by itself, and at the end of a clip, fires an actual hammer, and nobody beats the hammer. Yeah, I'm still watching regular show. A+. Snake Maker has a chance to critical hit and turn enemies into snakes. Basically an instant kill. Like the Vorpal gun from earlier. But imagine the Vorpal gun, but like... good. A tier. Turbo Gun. This is the most confusing weapon I think in the entire game. So when you reload it, if you continue to mash the reload button, it'll do more damage when it finishes reloading. The Ammonomicon does explain that, but I don't think they did a very good job at explaining it. Besides that, it's just whatever. C tier. Hegemony Carbine. The epitome of the C tier. Has whatever ammo, whatever damage, whatever gun. Screecher. It's pretty good at taking down large groups of enemies, but has way too little ammo. You can exhaust the entire magazine within half a chamber. It's sad. Still not the worst though. D tier. Laser Lotus, our first gun in a little bit that didn't suck. Stupidly high damaging, pinpoint accurate laser machine of death. The only caveat is a small ammo capacity, but that's barely anything against it. A+ tier. Hegemony Rifle, and right back down to where we were. Take the Hegemony Carbine and flip its weaknesses and advantages, and then you have the Hegemony Rifle. Horrible accuracy, pretty good damage, but low ammo capacity. C tier. No wonder these guys failed at cultivating the Gungeon. Fight Saber. It does pretty good damage and has a pretty nice amount of ammo, but the real kicker is every time you reload, it reflects bullets. Yeah, you know where this one's going. A quick note though is that it reflects the entire time during the reload, not just during the animation, so it's longer than you would think it would be. Would that be anything else but S? Helix. I don't think you can possibly understand how long I've waited to talk about this one. Never in the entire game have I seen a gun that actively shoots around opponents. Look at this fucking thing. It's curving around the enemies. This is the most non-lethal gun ever. The only upside is when it does hit an enemy, it does some pretty good damage. And I can see this thing being justified as a boss killer, but there are so many better options. Even guns that are made for boss killing, like the Fight Saber or the Vulcan Cannon. They can still be used for clearing out regular rooms, something that the Helix simply isn't capable of doing well. This might seem harsh, but F tier. Words cannot describe how much I hate getting this weapon in a run. Laser Rifle. The exact opposite pros and cons of the Helix. It does pretty good damage with shots that actually go straight forward, but the only caveat being is how long it takes to reload combined with their cooldown between shots. It's the perfect room clear, just maybe use something else for bosses. A tier. Crestfaller. Does whatever damage, freezes enemies, who cares anymore. B tier. Rad Gun. It truly lives up to its name. Every time you reload, you have a small chance to time a thingamajig, which will make it do more damage next time. Repeat until it is able to kill one of the trigger twins in 6 shots. The only downside being is you have to continuously time it if you want to do maximum amount of damage, which can be hard at times. I initially put this in A+ tier, but it also gives you like 3+ cool, so yeah, S tier. Thunderclap. The reigning champion of the most forgotten gun in the game. When you reload, it does this little barrier around you that damages enemies. I got nothing. B tier. Charge Shot. The reigning champion of the most lame name in the game. This beautiful baby will bring down brittle bouncing bullets that'll brutally best any bullet boy that barmingly basks down its blimey barrel. I'll put it in A, even though I want to put it in B for some reason. Dark Marker. You can either fire regular high damaging shots, or you can just make shit explode. This gun is outrageous. Enough to kill a gun nut in a single shot? That is insane. It uses a lot of ammo, but who cares? S tier. Particulator. Something about the Bible. Plus these big old shots that give birth to tiny bullets after explosion. It's good. I'm not sure if it's S tier good, but it's good. So a high A+. The Emperor. Electricity gun with big damage and interconnecting shots. What's not to love? A tier. Okay, we have a big line of explosive coming up, so it's time to do another lightning round to maintain my sanity. RPG. It is in fact a rocket launcher. Exactly what you think it does, but reload time is insane. C tier. Grenade launcher. It is in fact a grenade launcher. Exactly what you think it does, but it's like the RPG but better. B tier. The Stinger is in fact a rocket launcher. Exactly what you think it does, but this time A tier. The exotic. Take the stinger, but make it way better. A+. Commando. It's like the RPG, but 4 times the mag space plus homes in. A tier. RC Rocket. The RPG from earlier, but you get to control the rockets. I'm pretty sure there's an exact copy stat-wise except RC, so B tier. Yari Launcher. Look at this thing. Just f***ing obliterated the Trigger Twins. This is absurd. S tier. Little Bomber. Like the RPG, but you have to charge it up and doesn't do as much damage. D tier. Grass Chopper. Fires an explosive with a small blank effect tied to it. Too bad its ammo capacity sucks and its damage sucks and it sucks. C tier. And finally, the Void Core Cannon. This is a rocket launcher right here. 4 shots all rapidly firing plus they home in. A+. Hell yeah. Okay, back to my perpetual suffering. Bundle of Wands. Like the Snake Maker from earlier, but chicken. This and the next 3 guns we'll be looking at all have a small chance to critical hit and turn somebody into a chicken. Basically an instant kill. Looking past that, it also does good damage. Also, since it shoots 3 bullets at once, it has the highest chance out of all of these to transmogrify, so A tier. Staff of Firepower. A magical gun that shoots beams of magic and is a wand. Cannot transmogrify. Are you kidding me? It's okay, I guess C tier. Witch Pistol. The only thing carrying this gun is the transformation thing. Besides that, it's got nothing. C tier. Hexagon. Our final gun that can transmogrify things, and it's pretty good. Basically the snipers from earlier, but magical. A tier. Phoenix. It can catch enemies on fire. As long as they're 2 inches in front of you. Yeah, this thing kind of sucks. F tier. Magic Lamp. Have you ever wanted a genie to uppercut the shit out of your enemies? Well, 3 taps from this thing in 1 can. A+. Teapot. Aside from having the lamest aim out of any gun, when it comes to reloading, it can catch enemies on fire in a short radius. Whoop-de-f***ing-do. D tier. Gunslinger's Ashes. Did not live up to the hype I was expecting it to. It'll shoot little gunslingers that home in on enemies and fire projectiles. Not nearly as good as I was expecting, but still an A tier. Luxon Cannon. God's perfect room clearing weapon. Fires a bunch of little crystals and ends off with the front of the gem being shot out. Fantastic for clearing rooms. And not bad for bosses either, A+. Gunther. It'll start out pretty wimpy and literally shit-talking you, but after clearing more and more rooms, it'll start progressively getting better and friendlier. Plus it has infinite ammo, yeah, okay, and S. Contender for the best gun in the game. Unicorn Horn. Does pretty good damage, way too little ammo. B tier. Sorry I have very little to say about some guns, but like, we're over 150 guns into this. Do you think I have something unique to say about all of them? Cobalt Hammer. You can either fire high damaging bolts or just make literally everything explode. Unrelated, but this gun was inspired by the first 2 Twitch streamers to ever play this game back before it came out, which I think is neat. A tier. Frost Giant. Pretty good damage, way too little ammo, could probably be fine against bosses, I guess. B tier. Bullet Bore. Homes in on opponents, drills into them, and then explodes. Also stuns in the process. If it did slightly more damage, I could easily put this in A, but it's like a B tier how it is. Cat Claw. Shoots little needles, and upon reloading, they'll explode. Like the sticky crossbow from earlier. The difference between the 2 weapons is it does more damage, but takes longer to reload, so like A tier. Mega Hand. Weak baby shots are charged for big boy shots. The standout thing about this gun is that most guns have a charged variant, typically taking more ammo to use said charged version, like the Dark Marker from earlier. Well, the difference about this is that its base and charged versions both use only 1 ammo, and the charged version not only charges quickly, but does a lot of damage, quite possibly the most ammo efficient gun in the whole game. If we were counting synergies, this would be an easy S, but since we aren't, A+. Demon Head. Good damage, can ignite enemies, uses far too much ammo. C tier. Heroine. The Wish.com Mega Hand. Bullets having smaller and charged variants, both using the same amount of ammo, being very, very ammo efficient, and having good synergies that are also irrelevant to us. The only difference is that it takes way longer to charge, which is lame, but it does slightly more damage, so A tier. Mutation. Like the Demon Head, but if the Demon Head didn't catch enemies on fire and pushed you backwards. This is the second gun that required you to do dumb bullshit muncher stuff to unlock. Honestly, not worth it. D tier. Flame Hand. Can burn people, does okay damage, and has fine enough ammo. C tier. Sunlight Javelin. This might have one of the best damage outputs in the entire game. Not only does it just do mondo damage with each shot, but all of them have igniting fire damage. I don't want to call this burn because it doesn't look anything or function like burn, but it's basically burn. It can take down the Gatling gun in like 8 or 9 shots. It's ballistic. S tier. Machine Fist. 1/2 machine gun, then reload, and magically 1/2 fist. It can do a lot of damage, but the main problem I have with it is that fist it shoots is RC, which is kind of a problem when I want to be aiming at the enemy with the, machine gun part of it. And then the fist just starts flying away from the boss I'm fighting, like, get back here. And it could use a bit more ammo. A tier. Snowballer. Boo! Part 2! F. Super Meat Gun. Based off one of their inspirations, the Binding of Isaac. Does do damage, can bounce off like 15 walls before disappearing, and gives you an extra heart. This thing is stacked. A+. Also sorry if I sound different, I'm sick. Anvilin. Shoots anvils that can pierce anything. Tables, other enemies, everything. It can even stun enemies with pushback to wombo combo some of them. Way too little ammo though, B tier. Fossilized Gun. Fires oil, then catches things on fire. It's easier to damage yourself with this thing than enemies. F tier. Okay, we have have a bunch of beam weapons coming up. You can count the fossilized gun as a beam weapon, but I think it's too fucking shit to be considered as such, so we're doing another lightning round. Gamma ray, basic ray that poisons. The beam is too small to be meaningful, D tier. Freeze ray, basic ray that freezes. The beam is too small to be meaningful, D tier. Science cannon, it can inflict random status effects, which would be nice, but this beam is way too wiggly. I don't know, just look at it, it doesn't feel great to use, C tier. Disintegrator, this thing is so close to being a phenomenal boss weapon, but they just had to go out of the way to give it like a century of charge up, which will be cancelled if you dodge roll. Obvious problems ensue, A tier. Proton backpack, a beam that homes in on people, B tier. Mega dowser, it's a water gun, F tier. Plunger, it's a poison water gun, does not help in the slightest, F tier. Raiding coil, hits every enemy on screen, no matter what, S tier. Moon scraper, a beam that can bounce off walls. It's the most basic one of the bunch, C tier. We're on the home stretch now, people. We only have so many left, I can feel it. Barrel, a gun that shoots fish. And you know what that means? Fish or B tier. Trick gun, it's a pistol, but when you reload, it switches to a shotgun. Both of them are mediocre, D tier. Mailbox, fires mail, but the last shot of every mag can contain a bunch of different stuff, like glitter or poison or a pipe bomb, B tier. Nail gun, it fires nails. I got nothing. F tier. Light gun. Hey, do you think this game came out today, everybody would be hitting with the so retro thing? Anyway, shoots lights and fires ducks that home in, C tier. Dueling laser. Can one-shot most enemies and has infinite ammo, but it needs to be recharged by dealing damage with other guns. So like an A tier. Mahogany. Loads better than I remember this thing being. It'll shoot out explosive nuts that bounce off across the floor. And 2 leaves for good measure. Great damage output. A+ tier. The Scrambler. This is it, fellas. The best gun in the game. Okay, well in reality it's probably like Gunther or something, but if I had to personally choose the best one, I would say it's this. Fires low damaging eggs that burst into extremely high damaging yolk that home in on enemies. Even if you're missed, you're still going to be doing damage. This thing is a beast, S tier. Glacier. I found a glitch chest while doing footage for this. Just completely randomly. 1 in 1,000 chance. Sure, whatever. Anyway, it's pretty good, A tier. Or a gunny. Shoots paper airplanes that are remote controlled. Honestly, the RCU thing works against it most of the time, C tier. The kiln. It shoots pots and when they hit an enemy, explode into rupees. Like the shell from earlier, but not as good, B tier. Skull splitter. Stupid shit spits skulls singling. Actually, no, we're not doing this bit again, A tier. Buzzkill. Shoots buzzsaws. A tier. Tearjerker. Based on one of their inspirations, Super Meat Boy. It does fine damage. When you go to the left or right, it mimics how the Binding of Isaac plays, and your bullets weirdly curve, so good luck actually hitting anything, F tier. Star Pew. This should be like the Tearjerker, but why on earth does it do so much damage? Quick charge, 100 shots, a beast of a watering can, S tier. Eye of the Beholster. At the end of a mag, fires a little eyeball dude to help you. Pretty good against bosses since you can get like 5 of them shooting all at once, A tier. Molotov launcher. It was much better as an item, F tier. Glass cannon does exceedingly high damage, but if you get hit, you'll lose all of your ammo. So like the balloon gun, but a boss killer. Don't get hit and you'll be fine. True fragile artillery, C tier. Shock rifle zaps people with electricity, does no damage. We are so close to being done. Oh my god. D tier. Bait launcher shoots stakes that summon tigers. There are plenty of better boss killers, B tier. Brick breaker shoots turtle shells that bounce off walls, is probably good or something. I don't care anymore, B tier. Lowercase r. The one flaw of us not including synergies in these rankings. The lowercase r sucks, but it has like 15 goddamn synergies that all make the gun really good. Almost every bullet modifier gives it something new to shoot and say, so like in a regular run, it's not bad. But for our ranking, it is. It kills me to do this, but F tier. Excalibur snuffs out bullets when reloading and shoots in bursts. Not worth the 1 point of curse, C tier. Base melter fires in 4 different directions, and when you reload, puts a speaker down that also fires in 4 different directions. It confuses me why it does so much damage when you can just spin in circles and kill everything, A+. Really special loot. It shoots notes that will guaranteed never hit enemies, but it also buffs allies that you may or may not have. Yeah, this thing's way too situational. F tier. Trident does good damage, plus reloading it snuffs out bullets, which is rarely ever helpful. B tier. Crueler glaive hits multiple enemies, or at least it tries to. I was thinking B tier, but this thing's name is stupid, so I'm putting it in C tier out of spite. Abyssal tentacle fires a tentacle that homes in and grips enemies, damaging them. I stole that line directly from the wiki. B tier. Quad laser. It does that. When would this ever be applicable? D tier. Tetrometer. Tetris gun. Lines up Tetris pieces on enemies, and line pieces just make them explode. I'm honestly just impressed they are able to make Tetris pieces into a gun. C tier. Pitchfork, like the flame hand if it was better. B tier. Evolver, like Gunther if Gunther sucked. Well, it doesn't suck, but it isn't nearly as good. Same gimmick, being the longer you go on, the better it'll get. Eventually becoming this cool dragon thingy. Takes too long to actually get there though. A tier. Gungeon ant, this stupid ant. F tier. Life orb. Steals gundead souls, and once the soul is inside the ball, you can reload it, damaging everybody. I don't think it's as good as it is fun. fun. Great gun to toy around with, even if it isn't the greatest. A tier. Alien engine. This weapon is f***ing garbage. Man, it's so fun. Just look at me go flying. It's incredible. Its knockback is so great, you physically cannot go forward while using it. Like, obviously F tier, but it's so funny. Microtransaction gun. It costs money to shoot. Yeah, F tier. Pox cannon, like the t-shirt cannon, but poisonous. Also, why on earth does it do so much damage? A tier. T-shirt cannon, like the pox cannon, but doesn't poison people. Also, it does way less damage than the other one, like staggeringly less. D tier. Banana. Shoots bananas that split into more bananas. Great for when you want to hop over on the white hot sand. B tier. Beehive. Fires bees that home in on opponents. Good for if you just want to focus on dodging. B tier. Because I think putting this in any other tier would be wrong. Silencer. You don't want to know how long it took me to realize this thing fires zippers. This game has a damn pillow as a gun. What do you want me to say? C tier. Camera. Damages every enemy on screen, but only has 60 shots and doesn't do a ton of damage. Lame. D tier. Directional pad. Fires in 4 directions, does good damage, and when it fully runs out of ammo, gives you a chest for free with no lock on it. So if you didn't like that gun, you just get a new one for free. The only problem is that the chests can be any rarity, so you could get a worse gun than the one you have. A tier. Third-party controller. Lets you control enemies. This is way more fun than it is practical. D tier. Gun is Zang. Shoots arrows all over the goddamn place that try their best to home in. B tier. Sling. Shoots rocks. In a game where you could have a gun, why would you want to sling rocks? C tier. Cactus. This is my favorite gun in the game without a shadow of a doubt. It's so fucking funny. Shoots needles that don't do a whole lot of damage. This gun actually kind of sucks, but I love it so much. D tier. Black hole gun. Take a wild guess what this gun does. No, it does your laundry. Yep, this thing does in fact shoot black holes. S tier. On an unrelated note, where do you think this puts the Gungeoneers power scaling wise? Like they're actively standing next to and firing miniature black holes. Can the pilot beat Goku? BSG. Shoots giant ass balls of energy that kill everything. I think it's nuts. S tier. Compressed air tank. Shoots out sharks, but they all have a really hard time trying to get to the enemy you're shooting at. Like, look at this thing. It needs to be put down. But when it does hit something, it's an instant kill, so A+. Serious cannon. Big trend with these last guns and being instant kills, but this time it bounces. Who the hell would make a rocket launcher that bounces? Could use a bit more ammo though. A+ tier. Makeshift cannon. Only has one shot, but that one shot can almost instant kill a boss. Where do you think this gun is going? S tier. Devolver. I take this gun as dodge rolls. Thank you for not letting us go bankrupt letter to Devolver. And what better way to thank them than to give them an okay gun? It can devolve enemies back into a primal form, basically being the critical hits from earlier, but they're still alive, so it's not actually as good. C tier. What a nice thank you. A mid gun. And now we have arrived at the final gun in the game. But before we talk about that, I would like to talk about a gun that's not in the Ammonomicon. So on Chamber 2, you randomly have a chance to get a 1 in 1,000 hidden room that contains a bunch of cultists worshipping a chest. And inside that chest contains the High Dragonfire. The High Dragonfire is the Dragonfire, but worse. That is not a joke, by the way. They added a patch that buffed the regular Dragonfire, but I guess they forgot to do the same for the High Dragonfire. So it's that gun, but slightly worse. A tier. Even though I can't actually show me using this because 1 in 1,000 chance, I'm not doing that. Now time for the actual final gun. The finished gun. After getting every gun and item in the entire game, this will unlock, replacing the unfinished gun. Buckets of ammo, pretty good damage, and the last shot in mag can reflect bullets and pierces. Of course it's S tier. Here's the final tier list on screen right now if you want to look at everything, but finally, we are done. Well, that took half an hour. Okay, that is it. That is Enter the Gungeon. I started scripting this video back in June, you know. This game and its merch and its sequels and its everything has taken over my life for the past half a year, and honestly, I'm kind of sad I'm done with this video. Like, yeah, the video took me a while. Yeah, it took a lot of research. Yeah, my throat really f***ing hurts right now. But making a really big video was never the point. I mean, sure as hell was an incentive, but it wasn't my goal. I wanted to honor what, in my opinion, is the greatest roguelite of all time. One of my favorite games of all time. It has been a journey up to this point, and if I could, I sure as hell would do it all over again. I don't have some kind of sappy story attached to this game that gives it sentimental cred, but I can at least say it's always been a game that I've been able to return to. No matter how much my life has changed, no matter how much the world has changed, the Gungeon remains. And I will never not be ready to hop in for just one more run. Yeah, sorry, we can't end the video there. We have credits to go over. Thank you so much to all the people who wanted to be in this video, such as Zeppo as Sir Manuel. You can find him on YouTube under the same name or on Twitter as @Zeppo678. I loved your performance. You really made a guy who's already dead sound like he was actively dying. I loved it. Amazon as Blockner. You can find him on YouTube as Amazonin66 or on Twitter as Amazonin66. So the same name. I love my antagonists to be either German or Swedish, so thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to make you one. Janny as the blacksmith. You can find her as Janylived on YouTube and under the same name on Twitter @Janylived. Thank you so much for recording that metric shit ton of lines. You have no idea how thankful I am that I found a single woman. Somebody as the hunter. Yeah, they chose to stay anonymous for some reason. No clue why. Moving on. Nevernamed as Dr. Wolfenclaw on YouTube under the same name of Nevernamed. I'm honestly just kind of honored he wanted to be in this in the first place, especially considering I didn't even know it was him when he was auditioning. SquidKarl as both the robot Overlord guy in the Bullets Past and the pilot. They told me to just credit them as SquidKarl even though that's not their name on Discord, so I guess we're doing that. They have no other social medias. A lot of these people are just from the Gungeon community. The Bullet as the Elder Bullet in the Bullets Past. You can find them on YouTube as the_bullet. Honestly, who else is gonna do this one? Oh, the bullet played a bullet. This was perfect. The female TikTok text-to-speech as the convict, because there are literally no women in this community. My brother as the convict's friend. My other brother as Blackstash. Casting was hard, give me some slack. Oimate as the hegemony goons from the convict's past. On Discord as Oimate Johnson. No other social medias listed. This was honestly one of my favorite line deliveries out of all of them. You really knocked that out of the park. Good job. Another text-to-speech bot as the hegemony of man. Women aren't real. Pino as the guy who dies in the hallway of the Marines past. You can find him on YouTube as Pinoprime and on Twitter as @Pino_prime. I was thinking to myself, who would be the best person to die in a hallway? And you were the first person who came to my mind. YouTuber has over 20 times my size. Zach Blade as Brother Albulern. You can find him on Twitter as @ZachBlade4 and nowhere else. Don't go looking for it, you won't find it. Thank you for being an obscure NPC behind a hidden wall in a secret floor, boo. Love you. And finally, Itsku as the resourceful rat. You can find them on YouTube as Itsku or on Twitch as Itsku Live. The second biggest role in the entire video. Thank you loads for doing it. I was also a big fan of the voice you gave him. Really made him sound like a piece of shit. I loved it. Also, one final thank you to @Organically Maz on Twitter for this wonderful thumbnail. It came out really well and I'm so happy with it. Thank you. And thank you for watching. This video was tons of fun to make, even if when I was ranking the guns it really didn't sound like it was. And I know I asked earlier, but I'm really desperate for this video to do well, so hey, why not subscribe? Commenting and liking also helps. Thank you. I don't know what else to say really, so thank you. I love you, Mr. Viewer Person. Goodbye.